What's going on, guys? Welcome to day 3, maybe, of this horse show, 2.5. I'm not really sure how you want to figure it. We're finishing up the open showmanship tonight, and then we will wrap up the entire horse show tomorrow. We'll go over all the English, the Western, the ranch riding and trail, stuff like that. So we'll pick up where we left off with the open showmanship. Probably go, there's 12 in this class, maybe take us an hour, maybe a little bit more. We'll go from there. Good morning from down under. Good morning, good morning. Good evening, good afternoon, wherever you guys are. So for those who don't know, I'm Jeremy LaRose. I'm going to be your judge for this evening. We're going to be going over some open showmanship and giving some exhibitors feedback along the way, kind of give you guys some insight into my thought process as we judge these classes. So hopefully we can all learn something from this. Hopefully our exhibitors can all see a little bit of what goes on inside my head as we see patterns and the way that a judge would look at a pattern and kind of what we're looking for and things that we can work on as we go. So we will be placing this class afterwards. We'll be sharing our scores along the way. We do have a score sheet set up, 12 in this class. Do the videos pulled up, I believe. I have everybody. We'll kind of go from there. Maybe I don't have everybody. Yes, I do. I think I do. I think I have too many. Maybe we'll see. So again, as always, we're going to have a little bit different format. This is not my last day judging, Raquel. We're going to do one more day tomorrow. We've got all the riding stuff to finish up. Yeah, awesome, Bonnie. We're going to wrap up all the riding stuff tomorrow. I'll be live tomorrow at 10 a.m. Eastern, and we should be able to wrap that up along the afternoon, somewhere along there. So last day for the showmanship. We'll be doing that the last little piece here. So Bonnie, anytime you guys have questions, feel free to ask questions along the way. If I missed something, as far as somebody's video that you maybe submitted that you don't see me pull up, this is a new format for everybody. This is a new time for everybody, so we will be trying to do the best we can, right? The advantages of being able to replay videos, rewatch horse shows, rewatch patterns if we need to. Certainly unprecedented, right? We never had instant replay before the horse shows, but we do have it now. We do have it today, and we will be using it. Hopefully we can find all the mistakes and all the good things about these patterns and we don't miss anything. But anytime you have a question about what I'm talking about, we can go over it. I can explain a little further detail if you're not sure. This is the open showmanship, so these guys should be a little bit better, a little bit more prepared for this class. Open usually for us anyway, when we show, I'm from the AQHA world, so the open is going to be like the trainer class, right? So not very often you get to see the trainers in showmanship. So open showmanship, kind of a neat little deal. So we can kind of go from there. Awesome. And yes, thank you so much on Marley. We did get our mare pregnant yesterday, bred to Making Me Really Wild. We're super excited about that. Gonna be a really good baby. So we did get a chance to see that yesterday. Thank you so much. Yes, awesome. Love watching from lockdown in New Zealand. Yeah, us too. So that was kind of the reason behind me doing the live videos, right? We've done LaRose Show Horses LSH Live, if you guys know. We do live training videos along the way. We've tried to help everybody through the quarantine. We've seen some awesome videos. We will be getting back to those tomorrow. Tomorrow evening, Macy and I will be live. Saturday evening, we'll be live, going over some of your submitted videos. We have tons to catch up on. We have a set of spurs to give away from Harris. We will be doing that. So, that being said, let's take a look at our pattern for this evening. We're going over the open showmanship. It's going to be show your heart out. Open showmanship virtual horse show. We're going to be ready at cone A. We're going to walk 2 and past B. So we're in 270 across there. We're going to trot around this square corner here, back to your judge. When you're 2 horse lengths from the judge, we're going to stop, do a 180 back and set up, 270 and walk out. All right. So a bunch of tricky spots about this pattern, right? I really like this pattern for the stop before the judge, back and then back 2 horse lengths, turn your 180. Really tricky spot right there where you have to do your 180 back to the judge and set up, knowing how far you need to do that pattern, right? So we're going to see some limitations probably in people's arena sizes, people's room to work, that maybe we can't get this set quite how we would have liked to. We're going to see some differences between people setting them. Oh, Lisa, thank you so much. Good to see you again too. I haven't seen you in a long time. I haven't heard from you in a long time. So hopefully this is helping, right? And you can correct me if I'm wrong. Lisa led the MSU equestrian team for a long time. Got to talk to her, got to meet her. Super nice lady, very knowledgeable. So Lisa, if you see me doing something wrong, or if you enjoy what I'm doing, please let me know. It was really cool to see. I saw a couple 4-H clubs sharing the live judging and saying that this is your homework and please write a paragraph as to if you understood what I was talking about. So that was pretty neat, right? So it's helping some 4-H clubs, trying to give back to you, trying to give back to everybody, and make everybody a better rider, right? We can leave the quarantine better than we started. So yeah, so we're gonna start out. I like this pattern, I like the square corner here. This is a tricky spot for the exhibitors, right? This pattern really, so like we said, anytime you have a long open space, right, you can go walk this long space, trot this long space. That's my time as a judge to really evaluate your position in your showmanship, right? So that's my time to say, do I like this person's lines? Do I not? Because once we get into this part, this is like the technical part. So this is the wide open, free part that you're doing your showmanship that you can really see, and we can really evaluate how you look in the class. And then this part right here is how broke are you and your horse? How good of dancers are you and your horse through this section right here when you're doing the trot around that corner, tight corner across there, and then we stop, do our 180, back to the judge, set up 270, walk out. That's just a tight technical part of the pattern right there. So would have loved to have seen this pattern live, would have loved to have set this up for you guys so we could set it tight or wide or however we want to do it, and see you guys really make your interpretation here. So for me, I want to see, this is right here what we're talking about, right? So this B-A, this little depiction of what you should be doing, this is a rough outline, but you guys are the illustrators. So when you do your pattern, remember that you are given a story right here. Here's your story. Walk 2 and pass speed, turn 270, trot 2 and around, 2 horse length stop, 180. That's your story right there, and you get to illustrate it. So that's my favorite part about patterns, my favorite part about showmanship. It's interpretive dance, right? So you guys can interpret this however you want, and you can kind of show off what you and your horse can do. So that's what we're looking for. That's what we'll be tonight. We can go from there. All right. So we have all of our patterns pulled up. Should be right here, loaded up. I believe we have 12. Let's check to make sure. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. 12 patterns to go through, and we'll be scoring them along the way. All right. So we can get started here. We've got Katie Haas. I do believe is our first pattern for this evening. Katie Haas hustling 2 stripes. So again, we talked about limitations, right? We all do the things wrong. I can always learn something too. We got Abby Hill, current captain of the MSUET. Nice, nice. Yes, this pattern is very tough to do well, so I'm excited to see this one. I figured this would be able to separate some of the open from the seniors, right? So open from the senior, from the novice, try to make the patterns a little bit increasing difficulty and kind of go up from there. And that's why I told people, like, hey, this is one guy's opinion. This is one of my favorite classes. I love most of the classes that we've seen here at this horse show. I always try to learn as much as I can, always try to help people out, try to spot as much as I can. So love the pattern, perfect. Me too, I liked it a lot. I spent a long time, I don't know, in some of our judges in the chat, you guys can tell me, do you guys spend a long time going over patterns, like trying to find the perfect one? Because I definitely did. It took me like an hour and a half, 2 hours to figure out the right patterns for these classes. Just wanted something that increases in difficulty. I hate going to horse shows and seeing like a harder pattern for the novice than I see for the open or the amateur stuff. It doesn't make any sense to me. So yeah, so we're gonna see Katie starting out here. Again, I always like to see somebody ready at Cone A. We're gonna have to learn kind of like how people set up here. The biggest limitation that we have for the virtual horse show is the view, right? So we're always limited by our arena. We're always limited by our wide angle, right? So you have a vertical video here. It makes me sad when I see that. Everybody else looks like they're mostly landscape. So like this would be a great view for this pattern. So shout out to whoever this was, Trim, AB, Madigan Connolly, for doing a good view of this pattern. This is gonna give me a good overall picture. It's gonna be hard for some of these other patterns where we're set kind of close a little bit narrower, to really get a good idea about how we did this pattern. So we're gonna have to try to see that. My dance class, that's right. So we're gonna have to try to see that little limitation of the virtual horse show, and we can all kind of learn to adapt together, but hopefully we can work through it. All right, so we can get started here. Katie Haas. So again, like I always said, ready at Cone A. This right here, she's already in motion. Some of that has to do with people not, like, when you hit the record button, there is a lag time after it starts recording, and when someone says go, right, go, and then they hit the button, and then there's a lag time. So yeah, we have her in motion. I'm gonna assume that that's the case. Don't be ready to submit patterns, so just be ready at Cone A. Right, be ready there, just stand there, and then have your ring store whatever say go. And let's evaluate this whole around there. Yeah, in the audience in difficulty. let me see. Let me see. Still laggy. Let me restart my phone real quick. I'm glad this happened before we get into things. Let me restart my phone and be back. Verizon is really mad at me. Be right back. Restart the phone. The audio is chopping out, so we'll be right back and we'll start up again. Okay, let's try this again. So hopefully, restarted my phone. Verizon gets so angry at me, right? They get so angry. They're like, "You're taking too much streaming time. You are shoot. I see a little drop frames. Oh no. There we go. I think we're good now. I think we're good. We'll try. Oh, this thing, I swear, makes me so mad sometimes. All right. Perfect. Yeah. We can try to get started here. I'll try to hold as steady as possible. Just got home, right? So this is the first time I've been home all day, and my phone's got to catch up.
It's good now.
It's good now?
Yeah.
Okay, I see a little bit of drop frames on there, but hopefully we go from there.
It looks good on my end.
All right, sounds good. Audio's not skipping. Everybody confirm.
Oh wait.
Yeah, I see a little bit of skipping.
It's bad.
Yeah.
Want to try my phone?
No, I think it's mine.
That sounds better.
Yeah, it's gonna drop some. We can try.
Yeah, we're good.
We're good? Everybody confirm? Confirm, chat. Can we confirm? We're losing frames still? Let's see. Looks smooth. Looks fairly smooth. All right. Okay. Let me know. Just tell me. She's in the other room. She watches me from the other room. All right. We can kind of play by ear if we cut out too much. And yell at me. I see it dropping. Makes me mad. to, yeah, bad. I know.
Bad.
It's bad. Bad.
It's bad. You should have won.
Huh?
Will my phone be bad?
Not likely.
Dude, let's chop it.
Blur. Yeah. We are struggling. Our Wi-Fi doesn't want to work today. Oh, let me turn off some stuff on my phone. Yeah, turn off my phone, and we'll see what we can do. Give me 1 second. One more second. All right. Okay.
I'll let you know.
So we are connected via USB this time. Hopefully this will be a lot better. We're not going to be Wi-Fiing across here. We can make this work a lot better. I do believe we are good to go. Can you hear me now? I know, right? Time to switch companies. Yeah, I don't know. It's over my Wi-Fi. And I think it's just because I've been gone all day. So now it's trying to sync everything up as I have come home, and I'm on my home Wi-Fi now. So now hopefully we are wired in and we can do this lag-free.
I hate how far behind the actual live is.
Yeah. Yep, it's quite a ways behind. I know.
Let me hear if I can see.
Okay, so I see good. Good to go,
Yeah,
yes.
good to go now.
So just remind me next time to make sure that we're plugged in, and then we can avoid all those choppy situations in the first place. Way better. Awesome. Good.
Yay!
Good. Okay. I'm glad we did that before we got started, right? That would have been really frustrating to do in the middle of it. All right. So, we're here. Let's get started. So we're here. Go ahead. Like the way she crosses over a little bit, like the way she crosses over a little bit rushy there. I don't like the twirl. Horse does move off nice. We are going to make sure we look at the pattern. We'll walk all the way down here. She's gonna walk all the way down past B, do her 270. It's gonna set her up for this line in the end, right? So just setting her up for this line, coming across here. Horse is a little bit high, right? I wouldn't mind seeing this top line be level, okay? So for me, when I do showmanship, I do want their top line to be level through most of the class. And then when we go to set up, let's pick our hands up and let's get the halter portion of the class, the showmanship at halter portion. So making sure his head stays down just a little bit more here. And again, we see kind of like that, the same thing we saw before, right? Pulling this back is what's gonna cause this leg to slide, right? So we're seeing that horse gonna pivot on the wrong foot. It does hold the foot all the way around, but sliding that wrong foot back is some of our problem here. Just because we're pulling back, you see her kind of leaning back against that horse the whole time. Let me make some notes while we judge. So kind of something to think about there. You're gonna cause problems with your horse's pivots if we are leaning back. So I anticipate seeing that the rest of the way through in her next pivot also, if we're kind of doing it here. Does get the trot off. Horse is a little bit slow. We do see that top line level back down as she trots, all right? So that's kind of one of those things where I do want to see this top line stay consistent throughout the class. This is where I'd love to see it in this horse, right? Look how much prettier this picture is when this horse drops his neck down. And like we talked about with riding, if we can drop here at our withers, then the odds of us lifting our back are going to be higher. So then we should be able to navigate the rest of this pattern pretty cleanly. I do like her lines here. She does lean forward just a touch, but she is up in her shoulders. She's up in her body. We're not seeing that kind of crouchy trot that we saw in some of the other patterns. So does make that corner. Horse is a little bit bobbly around there. He's a little bit lost. This pull turn corner is always a test of how well does our horse navigate around there. How well does he curl up and around? And this is the kind of showmanship. This is one of my biggest pet peeves here, that your hand ends up way open, right? So we talked before about how your showmanship should be tight and square right here all the time. This is where you exist in showmanship class. I don't want to see you deviate too much from this position, all right? So when we come around those cones and stuff, I want to see somebody that turn their hand over, look where they're going, steer through where they're going. So if we're making a left turn, hard left like this, we want to make sure we're turning around there. That horse actually has to be ahead of you coming into that cone. So hopefully we see someone demonstrate that tonight, where we want to actually send our horse forward. Your ability to navigate this cone happens right here, all right? So here, I want to see someone drive up around here. Because she cuts this kind of tight, she kind of puts a lot of pressure on her horse. Push this horse forward right here, and then we can avoid this situation where now we're coming through to our judge like this, all right? So as the judge here, I have a huge vantage point to that. And like I said, this corner right here kind of makes or breaks the rest of your pattern, where if we come through here like this, we're seeing her shearing out like this. Remember, we're turning left, all right? So if you're driving a car, this is a right turn, this is a left turn. So I want to see people that turn across here, turn left, turn your shoulders left, and here we see her just kind of leaning out the opposite way. So, and then that horse kind of crashes into her right there. So because you got that head to the outside, that shoulder's free to go. Where he's kind of leaning out like this, that shoulder's free to crash into you. So we see a little bump right there as she comes to this line. So this 180 is a little bit better. Still do have his head a little bit high. I fear for his backup if our head is that kind of high. Good, good. Backup is pretty good. Kind of hard to see his legs from this viewpoint. Some limitation that we have to have here. From this point on in the pattern, we're going to have to use a grain of salt, right? We're going to have to take everyone into consideration because we don't have the same ring steward doing every pattern. If you were at a horse show normally, ring steward goes the same way every time. Much easier to judge. A consistent like little move around for everybody. So you could watch the person before you, get an idea of where the ring steward's going. They should be moving the same way every time. We don't want to deviate things on our exhibitors. Because then it's just not fair to judge. It's not the same pattern, right? So depending on how our ring steward comes around here, that wasn't stated in the rules, so it's kind of up to the discretion. Looks like we are moving left this time. So working our quadrants here, ring steward comes around. We do get to be the judge this time, so that is nice. Coming around. Gets a little bit straight with her arm here, kind of locks her arm out. Again, mostly because we have this horse's head just a little bit high. If we were going to have his head this high, if we were in the halter portion of the class, we could give him a little bit of lead, right? So because this is tight, right? Because this shank is tight, we end up having to straighten our arm out. If we give him a little bit of line when we go to step back and show, then he can have kind of a little bit of room to pick his head up and carry himself through a little bit of a halter type inspection, right? But because that's straight, she has to keep her arm really straight. And there's that resistance to our chain, right? So this horse just doesn't really have that level of finish in a showmanship horse that we're looking for, where he comes into that pressure, right? So first things first with horses, they always come away from pressure. So if that pressure is coming underneath his nose, then he would move his head away, and that's kind of how he evades that pressure. We kind of want to teach these horses to come into that pressure, so that's our more advanced showmanship horse, or he does not going to pick his head up like that when we put pressure on. And we kind of see that the whole way through the pattern, that he picks his head up and kind of has just a higher top line the whole way through. So kind of a funny step there. I'm not sure why this leg stepped out this way. I'm guessing just because we have that kind of head twist, we have that horse not really sure where he's going. Looks like a little bit greener horse through the showmanship pattern. And yeah, and we do have this kind of curl towards our neck here. This is one of two things. Either our shoulder is running away from our head and neck, right? But either way, we're kind of separating right here his neck from his body, all right? And in showmanship class, you want to keep everything really straight head to tail. Right, so we see that he's kind of broke right here in his wither, that this neck is leaning this way towards her, and his body's leaning the other way. So he's kind of evading things and leaking across here. When the horse does that, this shoulder is most likely to step forward around there instead of back and around, so he can clean step across there for his next pivot step. So this is some of our problem, right? That this horse has got to come forward through his turn. When we do pivots in showmanship, we're looking to pivot on the right hind. So he's got to bring that left hind forward, all right? Make a forward step through there, turn through there, kind of lean up and around and make that move around there. So we kind of don't see that in this horse, and that's part of the problem, right? He's going to have a hard time making it across there if he's leaning with his shoulder like that. That's why we leak out there that outside hind. So a nice pattern overall, probably, and then we haven't seen the other ones yet, but probably not going to be enough for the open showmanship. We're going to run into just better horses, right? Some horses that are more finished. It's going to be hard to take a horse like this. I think she does a great job. I think this exhibitor knows what she's doing. Maybe get a little bit tripped up in her pivots, but a green horse like this is going to be hard to show in the open just because you're going to run into some horses that have a little bit more finish, right? Not to take anything away from their performance. I'm glad she showed up. I'm glad she participated in the horse show and she supported the HART Equestrian Center there. This show is all for a good benefit, but probably not going to be enough for this class, which is okay, right? Things to work on for this horse. We know he's obviously a little bit green to this class, so that's good. Certainly don't want to take anything away from her there. She is doing a nice job. So we're going to lose just a few points to everything. Again, we're talking about that +3 to -3 range, right? So we want to move from the minuses to the zeros to the pluses, all right? So you talk about your showmanship progression of your horse, right? If we're kind of looking at, maybe we're a little bit in the minus section here, we're in the -1s, minus halves for little errors here and there, little things where he kind of leaves, we're in the kind of minusing points section. We want to move from there to going zeros, right? Where we get every maneuver just kind of correct, and then we want to start adding some flavor to it, all right? So we talk about accuracy first and then speed. So what we want to do is we want to be able to get our horse to where he can do all of these maneuvers accurately, where we don't get any of the drama, all right? Some of these are just drama things to me, right? That the horse is being dramatic about the pressure off the chain or whatever. Just getting even away from the drama section and into the positive section where we're doing all the maneuvers correctly and we add flavor to your style of showmanship to it, all right? So speed is the differentiating factor with showmanship. The faster you can go, the higher the degree of difficulty through the maneuvers. So we were looking for an exhibitor who does a pattern accurately and then adds speed to it or style to it, okay? Good, but a good pattern overall. Thank you so much. So we'll go to the next one here. We're going to look at Jackie Whittler. A little different breed of horse here. We do have a lot different setup here. Again, we don't know exactly what breeds of horses these are, but we can just judge her for what she is with this pattern, right? Exhibitor ready to go at cone A, horse is square. Do like the way she's set up. I do like the way she presents. She's nice and up in her body. She's not slouching. She's not leaning. Shoulders are a little bit twisted here. Maybe you could bring this arm back to us just a touch. Avoid that straight arm so we don't pull our shoulders off. But so far, so good. Let's see how she does. Like the way she crosses over, pretty businesslike there. This is a walk-off, so that little pause right there is fine. If she were trying to trot off, we'd want to see an object in motion stay in motion, right? So we want to get a little bit more oomph to that, right? If he had to trot out of this, then we would need just a little bit more impulsion as we come off that. But it is a walk, so I don't mind seeing a little pause. Maybe breaks the flow of the pattern just a little bit, but probably not as much as this break right here, right? So we see her go through here. This little break right here where we just, we don't allow this horse a chance to get settled before we go into our pivot, right? We're already kind of in pivot mode. And for me, showmanship is a dance, and the footwork for this class is going to be you're walking forward, take your horse, take your feet, go 90 degrees to your horse so you can execute that pivot correctly. Because we're kind of walking out here through this turn, it's going to be difficult for this horse to really rock his weight over this right hind and really pivot around that leg. Yeah, and we see him step forward right there. So as she begins this pattern, and again, I'm watching this for the first time as you guys are. So as she steps forward with that leg and makes kind of a forward turn, we see this right hind have to step up into it. Now, she hasn't, we could argue she started her pivot already, so that's kind of a step out. She does move that leg, so we'll see how she pivots the rest of this. Can she recover if that horse kind of saves her a little bit? She does, so that's great. I do like seeing that, but we are going to take just a slight penalty for that, that first step out. Try around that corner. Maybe the horse kind of swings wide a little bit. We could do have kind of a crooked line coming across here. That horse got his head a little bit more towards our exhibitor. And this is one of those things that I really look for in a horse, that I want to make sure that horse can trot straight. That is a corner that is kind of conducive to seeing this. If your horse doesn't really come up and around and bend around you, and we get that good hook in our horse's body, that it can kind of come up and around that corner, then you do end up in this kind of position where our hip is lagging behind our head and neck. Some of that may have to do with we made just a little bit too big of a loop down there. So we are still recovering onto a straight line here. We're still kind of making that little question mark type maneuver around there, rather than just seeing a really hard square corner, which would bring us more straight into the judge. Good, a good stop right there, pretty accurate. Does get a little bit up here, but he's pretty accurate through it. This pivot was much better. Looking at probably a plus half, +1 there. Does stay a lot straighter through his head and neck. We are a little bit crooked here at the end, but she does finish straight. Does hold a pivot foot this time, and we just had a little bit better preparation for that, right? We do allow this horse to get a chance to get settled right here. We stop, and then we come around and make that kind of loop. So much better pivot right there than we saw the first time. Would have liked to have seen that the first pivot. So yeah. So a little bit crooked for our backup here. Do get this horse's hip kind of swinging wide right here. We saw that starting. That happened because of this right here. So this head neck off to the right is what caused this problem. So remember, it's like kind of like if you guys have ever backed up a bumper pull trailer, right, and you don't have it perfectly straight and it's not going to back up straight. So remember, your horse in your showmanship class, if his neck is crooked right there, you're going to be backing a little hay wagon and it's not going to go where you want it to go. So make sure that your horse stays straight head to tail. So when you do put pressure on those shoulders, it is able to move straight back away from you. And most of our problems from our backup are caused with this stuff right here. So this horse head hanging off to the right means this hip is going to go off to the right too, because he's just putting that bend in his body. So she's going to have to recover that. And she does try to, does kind of overcorrect there because it wasn't his neck so much, it was his shoulder leaning out there. So we do fix our neck, but then our shoulder lines up and we do end up backing a little bit crooked here. So do have to recover that horse's head and neck. Now we're straight. We should be able to finish this back up straight. Probably could have gone just a little bit further there, but that's okay. We're going to start our inspection here. I do love this exhibitor's setup here. Arm does get maybe a little bit straight, different style of breed though, so I'm not exactly sure, to be honest, how we show this breed of horse, but we could still say she's very confident, she's very comfortable with her position, so this must be the way, right? And just remember that when you're showing, to say that you're selling it to the judge. So if I encounter something where I'm just like, I don't really know this exhibitor, I don't know this horse, how you sell it to me is really going to make a difference. So if she sells it to me and she says, you know what, this is how I do showmanship, this is my horse and I'm proud of him, this is how it goes, then I'm going to buy it, right? I'm going to say, hey, you know what? She must know what she's doing. She looks like she's pretty accurate in this breed, so this must be correct, right? We can say that. Good, so we do see the ring steward going the opposite way around. That's why we said the first pattern, we're going to have to take that into consideration. So just a little bit different here. Let me mute this. There we go. So good accurate steps across there. Maybe a touch late. Wouldn't mind seeing her go just a little bit earlier. Does kind of impede my view of the horse here, right? I do like the way this horse sets up. It's good expression. It keeps its head and neck up. We do have a square setup here. Pretty nice. We do get straight armed here, but again, if that's how she's selling it to me, I'm buying it because it's working. So remember that. You're always selling it to the judge. So as we go around. So now, a little bit cautious here. Would like to see her just move into that. Just go from your setup here. Just you're here like this. You've got your feet 45 to your horse. Just here, boom, go. And body language is a huge part of this class, and that's a lot of our momentum is caused from our body language. So we do want that horse moving around there, being fast, being swift about this, especially in an open class. In an open class, we can moderately assume that the winners, the top 8 of this class, are going to be very accurate patterns, so we do want a little bit of speed, a little bit of flavor to it, right? A little bit of showmanship aspect to it. So that pivot ends up pretty good. Was a 270 to walk off, so we are good to go there. Going to give her a +1 for that. Do like the way she came around there. Inspection, I'm going to give her a +1. She did sell it well. Maybe just a little late for that one. That would be the difference between a +1 and +3, somewhere in that range, right? If we were just a little bit crisper across there. Maybe just a touch late, but she does move across nice. She does set up nice. I do like the way she goes around. So our back was a little bit crooked, but our setup was nice, so we're going to give her a half for that. And then our stop in 180. We did lose a little bit there. Our 180 was accurate, but our stop was maybe a little bit hard. We'll go back and rewatch it to be sure. I do get talking, and I do get a little bit busy focused on what I'm doing. So I do see that trot corner. We're going to take off a slight point for that. Half point for that probably, that he swings a little bit wide. She does stay a little bit nicer though. You see where her position is just a little bit better than our last position, where she can stay a lot closer to her showmanship base right here. Doesn't get as far winged out right there, but unfortunately it does pull our horse's head over and leave our shoulder out there. So and that kind of leads to that stop. So this 180 was much better. Stop was a little off. 180 was good, pretty accurate. We do overshoot just a touch right here. We're gonna go ahead and just zero that out. Not anything that blows me away, but not anything that I'm gonna penalize either. So we're going to give her a 1 for a rating walk-off. Okay, perfect. Very, very good. Next pattern. So we're here at Corey Hall. She's the ultimate. Let's go ahead and write that down. Hopefully we didn't lose sound, Raquel. Hopefully it's just you suddenly random loss of hearing there, and it wasn't on our end. I can go ahead and check my stream. Looks like I have sound on my stream, so that one's on you. You must have muted yourself. All right. Right here. Long intro to this video. Okay, so we're ready at Kone. I like the way this horse is set up. I do have an ear forward, just one, but that's okay. I do like the way he's set up. Maybe a little bit crooked here, kind of hard to tell. We do have bell boots on. But it looks like the shoulder's a little bit faded off from our hip. Maybe we're just a little bit sideways here. Perfect. Good, Raquel. So coming around here. Do see a little bit better walk off there, a little bit more in motion, kind of thinking about that metronome, our tick, 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 tick. Want that exhibitor walking. Maybe a touch slow here, wouldn't mind seeing, especially in an open class. We just have a little bit more momentum to us, just bringing a little bit to that. It is a clean walk off, it is a clean walk, just maybe not blowing me away. We're gonna give her a +1 for that. Did miss that, so let's go ahead and come back here. Did see a little bit of head fling there. A little bit of drama, right there. Head pops up just a little bit, looking at that top line, trying to keep that top line level. Horse is rocking back pretty hard, so this horse is going to have to save her just a touch. We are pinched up against the wall, so we have to take that in consideration, though. Good. Horse does save her a little bit. We get a little bit of wobble right there. Kind of saw that coming. We're a little too close to this wall. Maybe that horse wasn't thinking that he could make that move, so he had to kind of step back and recover his balance a little bit. But that's okay. Good. So, trot off not too bad. Would like to see maybe a little bit crisper. You see where she's trotting and the horse isn't going yet. So I want to see a horse that moves off willingly. I like to see the horse go first. I think that ends up for better trot offs. So moving that horse off, sending it forward, get him trotting and then keep up with him. That would be a much better situation than you trotting and him keeping up with you, because that almost never happens, right? So just think about sending that horse forward, get him up. We do see him extend his nose, which means he's not bringing his shoulders, so that's some of our problem, is that he's just bringing his nose up there, his chin up there, rather than actually picking his body up and stepping up into that trot off. We do see a little bit of lean forward here. Hopefully she recovers here. She does. She's good by this time on her line, but our horse is still lagging behind us just a shade. It would be interesting to see if she makes this corner ahead of us. So there's that little bump into us right there. He does come up a little bit cleaner. It's still kind of dragging him, right? You see that head twisting across there. We saw it with the last horse. All that is, if you guys are running into problems where you come around that corner and your horse is twisting his head like that, it just means he's not bringing his shoulders, right? So we saw that back on this line when she went to trot off here and she went to make that corner. Like I said, it's going to be hard for her to make that corner given where he's at. So getting this horse to get a little bit lighter off that chain so we're not dragging him across there. Like, see where her position is. This horse is actually behind her hand right here. I don't know if you guys can tell from here. But he's actually, like, his nose is behind her hand, which is not where you want to be for a left turn. That horse is going to be up ahead of you so he can make a bigger circle, right? So remember, when you turn left and you're on the inside, he's on the outside, he's got to make a bigger, faster circle than you to get around that corner because he's on the outside, right? So just like if you guys were running track and you had someone who's on the inside track right through here like she was, they're actually making a shorter distance than the person on the outside. So the person on the outside's got to go faster, or if it was a track meet, right, or a relay race, they would actually set the outside track finish line a little bit sooner. So just keep that in mind when you come up around these corners, especially these left turns. He's got to make a bigger circle than you, so that really tests how well does your horse come forward off the chain. And we see that right here. Horse kind of says, no, I don't want to come forward. I want to kind of lag behind. So let me make some notes. All right, so we're going to stop at 180 here. Our stop was really good. It's pretty square. It does bump into her a little bit, but we're going to call that part of the trot corner. So we come around here. Horse gets a little bit stretchy here. Again, we got to save us here. I hope he doesn't slide this foot. Kind of looks like he's going to. He put a lot of weight on this leg as it comes across there. Remember that pivoting is about putting your horse's weight on one leg. If you guys see this position right here, you see where I've paused this frame. This horse has got all of his weight on his left hind, which means this leg is liable to slide. We would want to get this horse a little bit more forward through this so he'd keep all of his weight on this right hind all the way through this pivot. We'll see what happens the next stride. Let me back this up just a little bit. What is the penalty if the handler slows their pace in the corner or shortens their step to help the horse maintain the cadence around the corner? And not necessarily a penalty, right? But you're not going to end up in that +3 range, right? If we're talking about a +3 corner, is that horse comes up and around and comes around there. For me, if that horse stays up and that rider can stay right here, or handler can stay right here and stay in this position, you're going to be in the positive range, all right? If you open up that hand, you're definitely going to be in the negatives for me. And then if the handler slows their pace, I would rather see, and what I'm really testing, right? The reason I picked this pattern, I'm really testing, does that horse come forward, right? I saw it once in the pivot to trot. I saw that happen over here. Does that horse really come forward off your chain? But here I'm certainly testing that, right? I'm saying, you know what? This is the open. I want to see some horses that really are light off the chain, light in that body, and can make that archy move around our handler. So pace, it's going to be hard for you to get get those positive points for me. So you're going to end up probably a +1, maybe a max 1.5 if that horse really comes up and around, but you're not exhibiting what I'm trying to see, right? So remember, every pattern tells a story, and every pattern is a different challenge. So the challenge in this pattern is, does your horse come forward off a chain? And then not only when he's forward, can he stop hard, right? So you've already got that horse kind of forward. He's already up this way. Can you hit a good stop from there and do your pivot and do your backup? So remember, those two things work against each other when you're preparing for a class. The ability to go forward and the ability to stop are two separate directions. So keep that in mind as you prepare for this class. Some horses are going to be horses that stay back automatically, and some horses are going to be horses that want to go forward automatically. It's going to be different in different parts of the pattern, but I want to know both, right? So right here, good. So it was only a 180, right? So that horse didn't have an opportunity to slide right there, but I would be concerned in that position, because we still see a lot of weight in this right hind, if this horse could have made a 360 right there. Maybe it was just because I paused it. Nope, a little bit of an awkward situation right there. I'm not sure why she takes the step back. So we are finished with our pivot here. This does look very, very good. Looks like she maybe changed her mind. She's like, maybe I should push him over just a little bit more. But kind of an awkward thing right there. So we do see this horse hook around. That's unfortunate. Do have to correct here. I do like the way she's going to bring that hip back in line, but certainly want to see a horse that just willingly moves all 4 feet together. Just remember that is a 2-beat gait. A backup is a 2-beat gait. It's diagonal gear. So all we have right there is those legs are not hooked up using those diagonals properly, so he's not moving front end and back end together. We end up getting a hook in our body. Again, that crookedness head to tail is what hurts us in showmanship. So anytime that our horse unlocks himself right there, we lose control of this back end. Kind of think about it as jackknifing your trailer. All right, so that's why we don't back up. Right? So if we want this horse to back up straight, let's pull this head neck forward. Let's get this horse straightened back out, and let's teach him to back up from there. And pulling him forward would help a lot through everything, because we kind of see that the whole way through this pattern, that horse just has kind of a reluctancy to go forward. All right. Really good setup here. I'm impressed, right? I'm pleasantly surprised this horse was able to make that move. Kind of a strange move for a horse to make, right? If that hip is out wide like that, for this horse to be able to bring that leg in and make kind of a little sideways move, that's unusual. You don't usually see that with horses. It does look like his feet are even, and he brings it straight in. So that is awesome. That's the dream right there. You just turn around, one step, boom, you're set up. That horse moved his diagonals together, so that's fantastic. Going to be a big plus for that. As long as she can nail the rest of this inspection, that's looking very, very good so far. Let me make a few notes. Back here, we're gonna lose a couple. We're gonna lose a point for the backup. We are gonna gain a point for the setup. So let's just call that. Let's leave that at a -1. Setup itself would have been fantastic, but that backup does hurt us a bit. Stopping 180 was pretty good. Inspection. So let's see how she does this. Arm gets a little bit low here. This is kind of the problem with showmanship, right? We drop that horse's head and neck down a lot for practicing showmanship, for setting things up. Because she's a taller exhibitor, and because this horse is a little bit smaller compared to our exhibitor, right? Our exhibitor is very tall. So we want this horse's head and neck to come up so she can maintain her showmanship position. Because this horse's neck is low, we do have to drop our arm down, kind of hard to see in my frame. Dropping our arm down like this, kind of straightening it out through here. We do lose a bit of our angle. If we pick that horse's head up, we can show just a little bit more, right? Pick those arms up, or give him a little bit room through the lead to be able to pick his head up and keep our showmanship position. Does cross over really nice. Again, we kind of see that lower head and neck hurt us a little bit as she comes across there. She kind of has to really drop her arm to make it around there. One of the big changes that I saw was that the setup ends up being a little bit more showy. I remember back when I started, it was you had to bury that head and neck. And then there were a bunch of judges saying, if you bury a head and neck, I'm going to really hurt you through the setup here. So picking this horse setup just a little bit will help us, given our size, given our height here, that we won't have to scrub his nose as we come across. See how she has to drop her hand as she comes around there? And then if we're talking about setups, right, we're talking about those crossovers, inspections. For me, I want to see these shoulders stay squared up to my horse the whole time, right? So my shoulders stay squared up position here. We do get a little bit off right there. We do come around there and be just a little bit off with our shoulders. But she stays pretty good across there. Very good, very businesslike. I like the way she crosses over. So we come around, good. So she goes into her pivot here. Horse is a little bit surprised by that. He was kind of falling asleep. And that's why we get this head and neck leading this shoulder, right? So we talked before about showmanship is one of those classes where you want to stay straight head to tail as much as possible. So because that horse was not really expecting this to happen, and I think that's part of the problem with with our footwork in this class. So coming across here, for me personally, I teach my exhibitors that 45 degrees to your horse's feet is park. All right, so this is park mode. And then I would go and I would readjust and I'd move my feet to be 90 degrees to that horse's shoulders. Now that horse is ready to, we're gonna pivot now. And I kind of give him the green light to move his shoulders across there. So because we don't really change much from our setup, right? We're just gonna go right from here to our setup to moving. This horse is a little bit surprised by that. He doesn't know what he's supposed to do and he catches up, all right? So we can maybe avoid this situation where our head is leading our shoulder if we fix our feet before we start our pivot. Maybe help our horse out a little bit. Let me back that up so we get a little smoother. Pivot itself is pretty good. Horse does like to rock back pretty hard on that back end, so he does have to make a forward move right here. Good, he does. Very nice. Like the way she walks off. Very good, very good. Oops, leads me slow. It's right here, right there. All right. So on to our next one. We got Corey with her second horse. Did see her show 2 in the first class also. I think this horse placed a little bit higher, maybe a little bit more finished in this class. We'll see how he does this time. Okay, so he moves off nice. She did that with the other horse too, so that's very, very good. I did like the way she moves off. Maybe again, so just a little bit slow here. Would like to see a little bit more business-like pace. I always give the example, walk like you're late to something, right? That business-like walk, that's what I want to see. We do end up kind of in the same spot here. The horse does get a little bit pinched up by the wall. Maybe could have moved this cone over just a touch. Again, one of those things where because we didn't set this pattern up ourselves, we aren't sure in this arena. So we do have to slide this foot. Horse does end up moving that. But we are kind of picking our hand up, right? So maybe we want to get to where we can drive this horse's neck down so he can open up his shoulders and really make his way across there and keep that top line level. Does a little bit funky trot off there. He gets a little bit surprised by that chain. That's that coming forward off the chain. Very, very important. You see him a little surprised right there. So not exactly what we'd like to see, but that is okay. Just something to get that horse going forward around here. It does stumble a little bit around that cone. Kind of loses his way. But yeah, a little bit crooked for our stop here. Horses, this shoulder, as you see, just kind of keeps going forward. And that is why we leak, right? So we pulled our horse head this way. We have nothing to block this shoulder. That shoulder ends up just kind of pulling forward. That is the importance, guys, of stopping with your horse's head and neck in the middle, right? So we talked about before about the importance of keeping your horse's head straight, head to tail in this class. Anytime your head deviates from that position, you're going to end up kind of leaking over here, right? So this shoulder is kind of leaking forward. So that leg, not really sure where to go. There we go. So we're back in line. We're going to pick up a slight penalty for that. Stop 180. Does back a little bit straighter than another horse. This leg wings out kind of wide. Gets a little bit crooked in his head and neck. I'm not going to call it a penalty, though, because it was better than the other one. Horse sets up pretty quickly. So here we see a little bit taller horse, right? A little bit taller head and neck set. You see where she doesn't have to drop her arm as low, right? And that's exactly what we're talking about with the other horse, where she doesn't have to drop her arm quite so low this time because this horse just keeps his head just a little bit higher. There it is, a little bit low. The first time it was a little bit cleaner. But good. A little fuzzy coming across here. Camera's a little wobbly. Mess with my eyes. So coming around a little late again, so maybe we're ahead of our horse here, which is going to pull this horse off with his head and neck. So I want to see this horse's shoulder move willingly off your feet, right? So we come across there when we go to do our inspection, right? Or after our inspection, so we go across there. Again, probably a footwork thing that we get this horse's shoulder moving as we step off, that she doesn't end up out in front of him and kind of dragging his head and neck through this, pushing his head and neck just a little bit hard through this. He does recover here. He is very light off that chain, right? So you saw that she just had that slack in the chain. I like seeing that. I like seeing that willingness to move across there. He does end up catching up with his body, which is great. Good. I like the way she walks off here. Again, wouldn't mind seeing a little bit faster walk off or a faster walk itself if we're talking about, again, making the difference between maybe a +1 or +3, right? That's going to be speed. So that's where we want to pick up the pace a little bit, have a little bit of movement in there. Because again, that's about coming forward off the chain, right? So having a horse that's going to come forward to where he comes up off the chain and come willingly into that. I want to see someone be able to push that walk and not break into a trot, right? So the further you push that walk, the more you make him extend his legs and not break into the trot. That's going to be the big thing for me. You're very welcome, Corey. Yeah, he's our head popper. Got to get him come forward off that chain, right? Teach him to accept that pressure. Teach him to learn how to go this way off that pressure. Same thing for our other horse too. Just learning to come more this way off the pressure off our chain. But I do like the way you walk off there. Again, so just talking about picking up points where you can to make that from +1 to a +2 or 3. You're gonna have to pick up the pace a little bit. Again, it's not about running, right? But let's see if we can extend this horse's leg, extend our legs, and not break into a trot. The person that can ride that line and get a good like working walk and not trot off, that's cool. That's cool to see. All right, so we have Kiersey here. Next exhibitor, horse is ready at the cone, got 1 ear forward. Always would like to see 2 ears forward and a happy expression. We've got a halfway happy expression here. So ready at cone A, I do like the way she's set up. Maybe a little casual with our setup here, a little soft, right? We want to be a little bit more oomph to it, a little more presence to it. It's accurate, it's very, very good. Her feet are pointing towards this horse, but maybe we could pick everything up just a touch and get a little bit more showy here. Maybe lean forward just a touch there. Again, kind of goes back into everything else. We're wanting to just bring everything up a little bit more because I just kind of feel like we're just a little bit down here, right? Maybe pick everything up and get a little bit more through everything. This walk is clean. Certainly nothing to be upset about here. He was very, very good across there. And but wouldn't mind seeing maybe this hind's out a little bit far behind him. Let's bring this hind leg up by moving out just a little bit more. Pivots across here, pretty nice. See a little bit straighter head and neck, that's what we're looking for. Maybe a touch slow to trot off. A really pretty trot though across there. Does stay up pretty good. So there's the better position across there. So this horse coming up and moving with her, this nose is in front of our hand still. And we're able to make a pretty tight line across there and maintain our showmanship position. We do lean forward a little bit. That is gonna cost us just a little bit, right? The difference between maybe +1.5 around that corner and a +3 is getting that body up and just carrying ourselves a little bit more through that. We don't break in the middle and crunch down. But he stays up really nice around that corner. We're in good shape around here. Should be able to stop straight. Does get a little bit off right there. Maybe not too bad, but gets his nose over that left foot just a little bit more than I'd like to see. Wouldn't mind seeing him stay a little bit straighter right here. Will be hard in this kind of stop to prevent that leg from swinging out. He does save her though, right? Look at all that weight's on that leg, and this was so close. If he'd put weight down on that leg, this one would have got pinched. It would have stepped out to the side, so good boy. Or girl, I'm not sure which. Maybe a little bit crooked right here. She's gonna have to wait for this leg to come back in line before she backs up, or we're gonna be in trouble here. So I paused it right here, so maybe we'll see that. Just want you guys to notice what I'm noticing as I go through here. So we have to wait for this leg to come back in line before we start putting things in motion, or we're gonna end up back in crooked. So she does. Good call. The importance of letting your horse settle, right? So he does get a little bit pinched up through that, maybe a little bit slow to back up, but pretty accurate. We stay pretty straight. The horse does recover well, so that's good job on our exhibitor. So I'm going to give a positive point to that for our exhibitor, saying that, you did the right thing by waiting for that horse to wait and settle his feet before you just moved him off into that. So very good. And should have a good setup here. Can't see his front feet, but should be able to set quickly from there. She does move the rough foot that I would have moved, so that's great. Maybe this foot's just a touch off. I'm not sure if we'll get to see that from this vantage point or not, but this setup does end up taking a little while. And our hinds are a little bit wider than our fronts, so maybe we could have fixed that hind before we started moving our fronts, but we'll see how it looks from the side. It is just a touch in front. Cameraman is saving us a little bit here by making sure that we're focused on Kiersey and not our horse's back end, so good job, cameraman. See, we can't see it. Smart camera work there. She's a touch early to come across there. Remember that quadrant is right in front of our horse's shoulders, so we're not quite there yet as our cameraman, but yeah. Looks good so far. So there's that footwork that I was talking about, right? So she's going to go from park mode right here, feet towards her horse. She's going to step out wide. Now we're in pivot mode, right? And you see now this horse knows, oh, okay, I have the green light to go. to go through and say, you know what, now it's time to move off. All right. So Corey, I think that's one of the biggest things for me. If you fix that footwork part, our horses will pivot a lot better. I promise you. Charlotte, this was for the Show Your Heart Out series, virtual horse show. I don't know if Kiersey's planning on doing another show or not. I heard her say she's going to take a week off. She's done 3 in a row. And this will be my last time judging this show, unfortunately. I am doing the All Breed Horse Show next week, but I don't know that it's going to be live like this, where I'm just going through everybody's pattern. It does take a considerable amount of time. So right through here, everything looks pretty good. Horse does pop his head a little bit as he comes across there. Not too bad. Does get a little bit of it in his neck, but she does move through there swiftly, so he can kind of catch up. And then a good business-like walk-off afterwards. So we are going to give her positive points for that. That's a very good pattern, and I believe that is our current class leader. So really nice job. Good pattern overall. Very good pattern overall. I just want to watch that first 270 again, make sure my points are accurate. So we're up here. Horse does settle his feet. Looks really good. Brings us hind up clean. Nice, yeah, super clean 270 right there. We're gonna give her a 1.5 for that. Good job, Kirsty. All right, so we're on to this one right here. I do believe this horse, if I remember yesterday, was a competitor in the other class, so I anticipate seeing just as good a pattern here. A little bit different style of pattern, a little bit more challenging. But I like the way this horse is set up right here, right? He's got his neck a little bit out. A little bit happy expression there. Really, really cleanly set. She looks like she's ready to go. Feet are maybe just a little bit further forward than I'd like to see. Wouldn't mind seeing more of a 45 right there. We're more like a 50, 55 right there. Maybe get out just a little bit, move these heels out so we can get these toes towards him a little bit more. But we'll see how she does. Yeah, and so like I think that if she had backed up a touch, right? She's a little bit buried behind his nose. And like I tell my exhibitors, I tell my clients that if you're out in front of his nose here, if you drew a line in the sand, like this is my horse's nose, and here's my line in the sand, just work this line, right? So if this is my horse's nose, just work the line across his nose up here. Don't get buried back behind him, because now you have to make that big loop across there, which gets kind of awkward when she has to take a huge step out to the side to get around him, right? So that's right there. That's a big kind of unnatural step for all of us to make that. And you see this toe's kind of pointed out here, which means this next step is going to be a little bit awkward. We have to really twist our body around to get around his nose. But maybe stepping out in front of him just a little bit more will avoid having to make that kind of awkward first step. But he does move off nice. She does come across there nice. She looks really good. Arm is maybe a little bit loose here. We kind of see a little bit of daylight between her elbows and her body. Maybe just a little bit like kind of wide, but maybe bringing that right arm in line just a little bit more. It's a little wide and low. That'll probably carry through the rest of our showmanship, but something that I would probably work on is bringing those elbows a little bit tighter. Good clean stop here into a good 270. See that this is what we're talking about, where this horse stays a lot straighter with his head and neck. See where this neck, I'm gonna go one more frame, neck is in front of our body, at least is more so than we saw in the other patterns, where we don't get it leaning out over this right front. Helps that horse stay a little bit straighter in his body, helps us make a little bit cleaner 270 across there. I like the way he finishes that up, and he's ready to trot off right away. So big pluses for that trot off. We see where he's ready to move off the chain, right? And some of that has to do with the fact that he was already straight in his head and neck. Because he didn't get crooked and bent places, he didn't have to come back up and straighten out, right? If he's over here with his neck, when we go to trot off, we get that pop because he's just over here. So he has to bring his neck in line and then his shoulders. And that's usually where that head pop comes from. We see that this horse really moves off there nice, kind of exemplary moving off right here. She takes up her trot. These horses' legs move together. Look, we're knee bent, knee bent. That's the advantage of having a horse that moves off cleanly. If we're talking about moving into the +2, +3 range, this is dancing right here, right? Look, these guys are in the same exact position, right? That's dancing with your horse, okay? So we talk about showmanship is a dance. Here, we're moving together. And we see that the whole way across here. We've got this horse and exhibitor moving around really nicely, real clean up into that cone. He does stumble just a little bit coming across there. And I think more of that has to do with because of the fact that her arm is kind of wide. I think if she brought that arm up a little bit wider and maybe pushed him forward a little bit more before that corner, we don't end up doing that. Kind of the luck of the draw that he makes that stumble across there. Maybe in a different day, a different run, he doesn't do that, but we do catch it in this run right here. Good stop right there. Very, very clean. Like the way she stops. Love the business like look at her snap into position here. She's going to go from her stop, boom, drills that stop, snaps into position here for a pivot. I do like that a lot. We saw him nail the first pivot. We expect him to do the same here. Good. Very, very good. And maybe if we get that cleaner corner across there, we're in the +3 range. But for me, that's just a +2. Would have liked to have seen her just nail that corner too. Good. Good. Nice and clean. Very businesslike across there. I like her lines. I like this arm. Look at this 90-degree angle. I like that she's pretty square right here. Standing up nice. Maybe this hind is a little bit off. Again, kind of hard to tell from our vantage point. We aren't the ring steward this time. This hind looks a touch off to me. It looks like we could have backed that in a little bit further. But we opted for the quick setup in a position where we knew the judge couldn't see. So keep that in mind. When you show, guys, keep in mind where your judge sees, right? If he's standing directly in front of you, it's going to be hard for him to tell where your horse's legs are. I'm going to have to use the ability to see, like, can I see his front feet? No. Then he must be really straight with his body. So in that kind of situation. Horse moves off really nice in this pivot. Does take a little bit of a nibble at us. Does think about maybe a little bit of, maybe I'll just taste you. But he does move across there nice. Very business-like walkout. Again, maybe we get our arms just a little bit too high when we're walking. Wouldn't mind seeing those arms just be a little bit tighter across there. But a really good pattern overall. Probably going to be our class leader so far. Do like the way that he backed. Do like the way he set up. Like most things about that pattern. Very, very good pattern. Yeah, that is going to move her into first. That is our class leader so far. All right. So we're here. Right. Ready at Kone. I do like this, the way she's set up right here. She just does look ready to go. She's looking over this shoulder. Horse is square and really pleasant to look at. Good. So we're coming across. Maybe a touch slow here. She got an 80.5 and our, 80.5. Nice pattern, very nice pattern. So maybe a touch slow right here coming through this section. Wouldn't mind seeing her speed this up a little bit if we want to go for those extra points, right? But it is accurate. Not going to do much for me. Just going to give her a 0 for that. No penalties there, but not a ton of stuff to get excited about. That's the big thing. Like, I want to get excited about your pattern, right? I want to be like, man, you're killing it, right? You're drawing my eyes into the pattern. You're drawing me into your pattern. I want to be out there doing it with you. In just a casual walk like that, it's okay. Arms do drop a little bit through this trot off. Wouldn't mind seeing us stay just a little bit more up. Like, I do like the way she carries her arms, right? She's holding her arms up. We talk about having weight in our elbows, but we do drop those arms here. See those arms just like kind of shoved down, and then we kind of lose our midsection, right? So our hips are now behind our shoulders. Some of that has to do with because we just went here, which pitched our arms forward, right? So maybe bring our hips more in line, bring our hips up with the rest of this trot so we can stay up and accurate. We don't crouch in the middle and break in half. Do you like the way this horse keeps up with her, though? Yep, we see that right there. So called it before she made that corner. I like the way he's keeping up with her, which means when we come through here, look, she's in great showmanship position. He's riding alongside of her. Hopefully she can extend her trot a little bit here because I feel like he's going to outrun her for this stop based on how he was coming around that corner, right? He's way up with her. And if he's way up like that, again, we talk about how this is two polarizing maneuvers, right? He's way up with her around that trot. So is he going to stay way up, right? Is he going to stay too far ahead for this stop? Hopefully we don't see that. If we do see that, you guys will see his head go towards her. You'll see his hip go toward the outside. So we'll see what happens. There it is, all right? So called it before it happened, right? First time seeing this pattern, but you know what's going to happen. So I know when that horse stays up and he's not going to be ready to stop with her because he's too up, right? Then we're going to end up pulling this head towards us when we stop. So hopefully you guys learned something, right? We can see these things happening. We know these things will happen. Hit this. Good, so he does move through this pivot pretty nice. Keep his head pretty straight. We're maybe a little bit off with our neck here. we are going to have to recover this to back up because we are a little bit crooked to begin with, right? So we talk about jackknifing our trailer when we go to back up. This hip now has to swing in here. She's got to recover this without pulling his head too far this way, because if she pulls his head too far this way towards her, this leg right here is going to step wide over here. If that happens, then she's going to be doing the squiggly line all the way to the judge, and we'll kind of just be recovering that whole line rather than showing, all right? So anytime you guys are in recovery mode, where you're trying to fix an error like this, you're not showing, right? So we want to maximize the amount of time that we spend showing, rather than fixing, right? So we're still in recovery mode from his stop. So kind of want to think about, could we get back to showing as quickly as possible and back to earning points rather than trying to zero things out or just zero things? This thing making me real mad today. It doesn't. All right, we're down there. I'm on the Wi-Fi. For some reason, it doesn't want to play nice tonight. Not sure. It says, no, I'm tired. It's been a long day. Let me move this back to USB. This thing made me so mad tonight. It says, I am tired. I don't want to play anymore. This has been a long day. So we're back now. All right. Yes, Mia, I am doing judging. I'm doing live judging for this horse show. So my phone just doesn't want to play tonight. It's so tired. It's been a long day. So hopefully we're back on there now, and it stays on. We'll see. We're pushing the limits of our hardware here. All right. So let's see how she does here. Let me make sure I have these notes made on our score sheet. Yeah, we're ready to go. All right, we're back in. So we're here. Here's that recovery that we talked about. She does manage to make that move and keep everything in line. Do lose it a little bit right there. Yep, so we do lose that hip just a touch to the outside. You see with this hind leg, it's a little bit to the inside of this leg. Kind of knew that was going to happen, right? We kind of saw that happening. And Mia, for this was for the Show Your Heart Out virtual horse show that we finished up last Sunday. We're going to finish up judging tomorrow, so you have to catch the next one, I believe. Oh, there's lots of virtual horse shows now, but I don't know that they offer live judging like this. Not sure. So kind of looking way out there. I don't want to see this in a class, right? I don't want to see us trying to find that horse's hind leg. Some of that happens just because our horse's shoulder, we can't see it from here, but because that horse's shoulder is leaning towards her, she doesn't have a good viewpoint. You can see this rib cage hanging out right here. So she's trying to look around this rib right here to see this back leg, because you can't see it, right? So this shoulder, we see this foot's to the inside. That's all because of that backup step where we kind of get messed up, right? So we don't want to be hunting for our horse's back end. If this rib cage, if this shoulder was in line from our backup, we wouldn't have to make that big leany move to make our setup. Right, so don't really want to see that. That is going to cost us half a point. Like the way she moves around this horse, very businesslike, very clean across there. I don't notice her, gives me time to look at the horse, all right? So anytime I don't notice you across there, gives me time to evaluate this horse. This is the at halter portion of our showmanship class. So this is all about your horse. She is a touch late for that one. So I would have loved to have seen her stay up just a little bit more through that, but she did a nice job. I like the way she crosses over. I'm just gonna zero that out. I love the way she crossed over, but she was a little bit late for the last one, so just gonna zero that out. I like this pivot better. Does overshoot it just a touch. Wouldn't mind seeing her finish right here. Let me make sure it's just 270, right? So we're here, if you imagine right here. So his feet should finish on this line right here. So if we go up here, if we end up going this way off, then we're gonna be more than a 270. So we'll see where she finishes up. So 270, remember everybody's gonna be right here. So we wanna be finishing up right here. Yeah, so that leg should have been coming through here. We do end up going just a little bit further than our 270. Wouldn't have minded seeing her go even right here. So that 270 is just a little overshot. Good, good. So a good pattern overall. I do like the way she finished her 270. Just wish it would have been a little bit cleaner. So we're just going to call it a -half. Good pattern overall, though. Good pattern overall. Make sure I'm not missing things. All right, so here we're going to be going for Baroque, Brian Schubauer. So let me check the name, Bailey Schubauer. So Bailey's pattern here. I only have a few more, just a little longer. Tell that phone to hang on, we're almost done. You can make it. Oops, not that's going to be Bailey. All right, Bailey, so right here, I do like the way she's set up. I like this feet pointed 45 degrees to our horse. We've got good lines here. Maybe leans back just a touch. Wouldn't mind seeing this head and neck be just in line with our shoulder, our hip, and our heel. We have maybe just a little bit too much of an arc in our body. We are buried back behind our horse just a shade. She's gonna have to make a step around that horse to get around his nose, but we'll see how she does. There's that step around. A little bit awkward across there, a little bit of a twirl around there. Wouldn't mind seeing her split that up into a couple different steps. That way we can kind of avoid that twirl, but go from there. Long strides here, nice long strides. I did that the other day. We're finishing up showmanship. This is open showmanship, last of our showmanship today. I believe open walk trot showmanship was of day 1, right? So if you go back to day 1 of this horse show, find it on YouTube, LSH Live, we'll have it on there. Okay, so clean across that little nibble right there, right? We said, maybe you taste good. So making sure that the horse doesn't take a nibble out of us. We see that kind of, wish we had a happier expression across here. Horse tries to take a nibble out of us with the negative expression. Regardless of how good this trot is, that's gonna hurt us a little bit. A little bit slow for our trot, right? We saw those long strides in her way she walked. Still see those long strides here. Wouldn't mind speeding these steps up just a little bit so it doesn't get so like moon bouncy, right? There's a lot of lift, a lot of float right there. So we could speed all of this up and be just a little bit cleaner across there. We do end up a little bit hooky right there coming in here. She does swing wide and then swing back in, and now she's straight with our judge. So she does finish strong, but a little wobbly coming through there. Let me make some notes as we come around. So ready to walk was good. 270 was pretty clean. Trot the corner was a little wonky. So she does get a little off through there. Wouldn't have minded seeing her be a little cleaner through that. Stop so far is good. 180, good. Finishes that really clean. Horse is really straight head to tail. Ends up with a good backup into that setup. And should be almost very close to setup. Yeah, perfect. So when you get that kind of backup and your horse stays really straight, he is a little bit looking off to the left. We can't see it from here. So would like to see our exhibitor check hawk eye judge to make sure that head and neck stays straight. We can maybe fix that head and neck coming back into position before she starts her inspection. That way we don't do our inspection and horse is like looking over here, right? So backup was very, very good. Like the way she came across there. Setup was very fast. And then we see that kind of horse looking off to the side, but nothing. Pleasant expression here. I like the way that she's set up. I like the lines coming around. Horse does shake his head at a fly. That's okay. Just don't want to see him take a nibble out of her as she comes around. There he's tasting her arm. So do want to avoid that. Avoid putting the carrots on your sleeve and having your horse. There's the look that we're going for, right? That's the ears forward. Pleasant expression on our exhibitor's face. Good clean lines. That's what we want. Much, much better look right there, right? So we wish we had that the whole way through this pattern because he can do it, right? He's capable of putting his ears forward if we make him like this class a little bit more and going around. Jill, yes, your arms are just not quite tight enough. So he is kind of looking off to the side. We talked about before about making the stare down of our judge, right? So we're locked eyes right here. We've been locked eyes the entire time. It's been a long dance for the two of us that we've been locking our eyes on each other. So let's make sure that we check our horse's hawk eye judge, break that eye contact, make things a little bit more natural for all of us, and then we would catch this, right? So our horse has been looking off at this puppy over here. Puppy is very cute, so I don't blame him at all, but we do want to make sure he keeps his attention on us. Checking your horse's eyes will make sure that you notice these things and you can maybe address that before you go to do the rest of your pattern, right? Because if he's still looking at that puppy, when we go to do our 270, that's going to be bad news for us. So go across here. He was still looking at that puppy, which meant he was really upset that he had to come back to the pattern and come back into focus mode. So he did try to take a little nibble out of her. We couldn't really see it. If you guys go back, you come across here. He does try to take a little piece of her right here. Oh, there it is. And he gets a little bit of trouble for it. He knew he was in trouble for it, so he saw it pop his head. That's that horse telling on himself. Good pivot across here. Does try to take a little piece out of her again. You see that head kind of always twisting around. Wish we wouldn't have that through here. Good pivot, good walk off, very clean. Just wish we wouldn't have that horse trying to nibble on us all the time. Let's make him enjoy that class just a shade more, and maybe that will help a bit. Stop in 180, do want to check that. How was our stop in 180? Here's our stop. Good. 180, super clean. Super clean. Do remember this one. Very good across there. And then again, like we talked about, those patterns are a snowball going down a hill, right? So she's got positive momentum coming across there, and if you have positive expression coming across there, you end up in a good spot coming in here, then your backup is going to be easy, right? So we don't have to recover it all, and this is the difference between spending a lot of time showing versus a lot of time fixing, right? So trying to recover versus trying to show, right? So she doesn't have to recover anything through here because this horse finishes his pivot very square, right? We're already straight to our judge. We've seen that in a couple patterns tonight where our horse doesn't finish his pivot square, so then this backup spends time in recovery mode instead of show mode, right? So trying to get this horse to where he shows all the time, right? Trying to get all of your horses to where they show all the time, because look how easy this is for doing the rest of this part of the pattern. And she backed him right into a setup, so that's great. That's the dream, that we end up like that. Catherine, you mentioned the up happy expression. I've done videos in the past to address this. My boy pins his ears all the time with in-hand work. He's been checked by the vet, chiropractor. Yeah. He's just in first place in the show, but I don't know how to fix it. So probably the biggest thing for me is making sure your horse enjoys this class. So when I practice showmanship, I don't necessarily practice the patterns, right? I don't practice drilling my horse. I think you end up with kind of sour horses when you drill things. So I try to keep this showmanship pleasant and happy for him. Lots of petting my horse, lots of reward when he knows he's doing it right. I try to put the pressure on and then release the pressure, reward him for doing well. And if he were to pin his ears or do something like that, I would keep the pressure on, right? So the pressure's not gonna go away until you do it correctly. It's tricky, especially for horses that have been maybe doing this for a long time. And he's like, dude, you're not gonna show me anything new in this class. I've been doing this for 100 years, and I just wanna bite you. So once you kind of end up in that spot, it's very difficult to fix. So the best kind of treatment is prevention. All right, so we want to prevent this from happening in the first place, because it's very difficult to treat once it's there. So making sure that you prevent that from happening by not drilling this class too much. This class is very, very straightforward when it comes down to it. If you're good with your positioning, your footwork, and your arms, then you can teach your horse this class very, very quickly, which means you don't have to over-school it. Okay, so I think over-schooling ends up with this expression. So trying to avoid that over-schooling, trying to make sure your horse enjoys the class. Really important to me. For me, practicing showmanship, hard and fast, 15 minutes at a time, maybe 10. Certainly not gonna spend 30 minutes on this class, just because it's hard to avoid burnout, right? We don't wanna burn him out. A good pattern overall though. I like the way she execute that pattern. So you got another horse here. I think we were allowed to take 3 horses in these classes. A couple people took 2. That's good. So, make sure, okay, yeah, so it's kind of an awkward pause right there. We are stood up really good. Same problem that we had last time. Our shoulders get a little bit behind our hips here. Would like to see her bring that upper body up forward so she can bring her chest up and keep everything open up top rather than kind of leaning back. We kind of lose our lines, kind of break in half right there. We kind of lean this way. Let's bring everything up here so we can keep everything up and elevated and go from there. I have a land shark, yeah. So do we. Our land shark does not do showmanship because it's not our class. You're very welcome. So again, this walk kind of slow for me, right? It's super accurate, super business-like, but I wouldn't mind seeing her just pick up the pace a little bit, challenge this horse a little bit, challenge yourself, challenge this walk, and go for those plus points rather than just wanting this, right? +1 this, because it's clean, right? It's very good. Just needs to be more. Arm does lean out a little bit, so that arm leaning out right there before we get to our stop tells me my horse is not going to stop, all right? So I would say, you know what? Like, you're telling on yourself here. You're telling on yourself to say, my horse is not going to stop. Okay, so right there, that's that cheat. Cheating across there, we lose our showmanship position. We come over here, we're saying, I better put some pressure on over here, right? Better put some pressure on and slow that outside shoulder down because she's probably not going to stop. And we're only walking right here, so probably don't need to make that move. I would anticipate that the horse would make that stop pretty easily. There's that tell, right? Yes, you see, we are already kind of like pulling back before we go into our pivot. Horse moves across here, really clean in that pivot, like the way he stays straight head to tail. You see that right here. There's that head and neck over that right front instead of over our left front, or over her left front instead of over her right front, sorry. My left, her right, my left. So keeping your head over this shoulder rather than over here, right? We saw that with some of the other patterns where that horse's head and neck gets way over here. Trying to keep that horse's head and neck in the middle as much as possible. Do you see that exhibited here? Really like this pivot. Nice job. Let me make some notes here. So we're gonna give her +2 for that pivot. I really like the way she came across here. Wish she would have come out of this a little bit straighter. We do end up a little bit bent forward. Kind of see that the rest of the way through this showmanship. We do end up breaking the middle quite a bit. This break right here in our midsection. Do want to see her stay elevated, stay up. Saw that in our first setup too. We talked about how she's just a little bit loose right here. So these shoulders kind of get either too far back, too far forward. Do want to learn where straight up and down is so we can maintain that position the whole way through. And then just avoid this, right? So we're super suspended here. So this coil of our legs, right? She's really sitting down into this trot. We're gonna end up with a lot of spring out of this. So our trot's gonna be more like we're bouncing on the moon. And I wanna make sure that we're covering ground and we're staying a little bit flatter. So this is just too much coil for me. We're losing too much height. We're losing too much in our shoulders. We've lost almost like 6 inches of height here. If you consider, it looks like she has really long legs for her body size. So coming across here, long legs, tall horse, right? Tall exhibitor. We're up here by the buckle of his halter. And then when we go to trot, we're down lower than the lower buckle, right? So we just end up a little bit too low. We do change our trot halfway through, partly because we know we have a corner coming. We're not gonna be able to trot like that around a corner. But I wouldn't mind seeing her cover some ground, right? Use those long legs, cover some ground. Let's speed this up and let's push this pace a little bit. So this coming down through here, putting the down pressure around our chain as we come through this corner tells us that horse is probably not going to make that corner. Kind of telling on ourselves here to say, I don't trust my animal to make it this corner. I don't trust my animal to make that stop back there. And I don't trust her that she's going to make this corner and not come on top of me. So we want to avoid this stuff right here. We're in a class and saying, my horse, practice this, right? Practice this to where we can get up here and we can continue to show. So again, we talk about the difference between being in show mode and recovery mode. That's a recovery corner to me. We kind of lost our show position right here. We're in show position. We're thinking about that corner. We come up through here and now we're trying to recover and try to get through that as much as possible. We're kind of tiptoeing around there. And I think Bonnie had asked me earlier, what about an exhibitor that tiptoes around? Usually it's a symptom of a bigger issue, right? The bigger issue was she didn't trust this horse coming around here. So the symptom of the choppy trot is because of the cause of we don't trust our horse coming around the corner. Does come through here really clean, really straight. Do like the way she comes through into that. We are going to mark her off for that corner. We are going to give her a little penalty there. Like the way he pivots here. Maybe not quite as clean as the last one, but pretty good, right? Again, we see 2 for 2 now in this one. She finished the last horse very, very straight, finishes this one really, really straight. I anticipate a good backup here. I anticipate a good setup afterwards. Tells me she's got control over both this horse's shoulders. So if we have it here in the pivot, we certainly can get it around the corners. We certainly can get it in the stop. Yep, good clean backup here. Moving his feet willingly. I want to see constant motion when he's setting his backing, right? So if he's backing and everything's just kind of staying moving, he's not holding one foot or dragging it around, then we're in good shape for this setup, and she does nail that setup. I do like this horse's head and neck up a little bit higher. Remember, this is the showmanship at halter portion, so we're allowed to lose some of our top line. I want to see a flat, level top line through the rest of the class, but in your setup, I don't mind seeing it come up a bit. So we're going to give her plus points for that stop in 180, and plus points for that back and setup. Maybe not quite as much as the last horse. I like the last horse a little bit better, but this one pretty good. Inspection looks good so far. We do end up leaning back just a little bit right here, end up getting this shoulder, the back, flat part of our back, a little bit behind our hips here. So making sure that we bring this in line, bring this up, keep everything elevated, keep everything forward. Just working on getting this exhibitor to understand the core strength that's required in this class and keeping everything up and in line. Also interesting to note, she did this without a chain, right? Maybe putting a chain on this horse cleans up some of those stops, cleans up some of those corners. Oops, I do have some pops and clicks. Like the way she crosses over right there. Maybe a little bit opened up to me. Still on the horse right here. So when you're in your setup, it's all about the horse. So let's focus on the horse. It looks like we can't really see, but it looks like our feet are kind of pointed out this way instead of 45 to our horse this way. Yep, we're in pretty good shape. Maybe point it off a little bit this way instead of quite so severe as I was thinking, but good across here. Maybe just a nitpicky thing for me, picking this hat up a little bit off of her eyes, right? It's kind of low, like it's like this, and I feel like it's really hard to see her past the brim of her hat. Maybe picking this up a little bit, getting it a little bit elevated so you can see some forehead here, just sits a little bit low on her head, right? Whether it's a smaller hat or a different shaped crown, just something to keep in mind, right? Just because I feel like she's looking at me through her hat, right? She's looking at me like this. And I wouldn't mind seeing everything just come up and open, right? We talked before about that, about her overall position. Now that I messed my hat up. So this pivot a little bit leading with his neck, but he does recover pretty well. I like the way this horse pivots a lot. Super clean across there. Like she's got that good pivot on all of her horses. Good pivots lead to good rest of the maneuvers. Again, walk away is really, really clean. Horse's ears are forward. I love that. Just a little bit slow for me. So she's going to pick up a point, but she's not going to get those plus points that we're kind of looking for there. But a pretty good pattern overall. Pretty good. Got 3 left. So dead B. All right. So did look like we did start on the correct side of the cone. We just got in motion before we started filming, so we're gonna give her the benefit of the doubt on that one. She was in motion there. See, we are moving across, so maybe we just had a little miscommunication with our ring steward to say go and hit the record button. Maybe our ring steward gave her the command a little too early. She is in motion. I do see that, so I'm gonna give her the benefit of the doubt. It would be hard to judge the fact that she was sitting ready at the cone A. Again, you want to get that first impression, right? So make sure you give the judge an opportunity to make a first impression. I want to see an exhibitor that's settled, horse that's settled, ears forward, attentive, ready to do something, ready to show, big expression at that cone. So that just kind of wows me and draws me into the pattern right away, right? I'd love to be drawn in so that I'm right there with you stride for stride, right? Good. Horse is a little bit behind her here. Will be interesting to see how she navigates the trot part of the class. If the horse is leaving behind her just a little bit here, probably could have pushed him up a bit and get a little bit cleaner walk. Some of that comes from the hesitation that she had moving off in the first place, I think. And again, we don't have a hat on here, but it does kind of look like she's looking down at the ground right here. Kind of see that everything kind of leaning a little bit. We can kind of back up here, maybe see. Yeah, so see there's the eyes down. She's kind of looking down at the ground right here. Make sure you pick a point up here, level with your eyes so you don't end up like this. Because if you imagine if she had a hat on, she would really be telling on herself. So the example that I always give is look sideways right here. If I profile, see if I'm looking right here and I'm staring straight at the wall, you guys look at this line of my hat, how it's really straight. But if I look down at the ground up there, look at that line and how much it changes, right? So just that slight, if I'm looking here, it looks really good. And if I look here, it looks bad. So just remember that hat's really going to tell on you. And I mean, she's not wearing a hat here, but I could still tell based on the angle of her head, her hair here, that we're just kind of looking down right here. So let's get our eyes up. Make sure you pick a point that's level with your eyes the whole way through this class. We want to be staring kind of like the top of this wood would help us a lot in not getting our eyes down because it's all about confidence, right? This class is about confidence and just fluidity. So getting that in the class would be important. Does move forward nice. I'm going to give her a 0 for that. Doesn't do much for me either one way or the other. Would like to see her eyes up. Would like to see her moving forward a little bit cleaner, but not anything to punish. So again, a little bit guarded through this pivot. We're pulling back just a little bit. Anytime I see that back pressure on our chain, we are going to say that this horse is maybe going to leak forward. Maybe he's going to cheat that pivot. Want to make sure that you can keep your hand even with your nose, right? Maybe we can keep that hand, if our buckle of our halter comes out right here, we can keep that chain straight to our hand as our exhibitor, and we can keep everything in line right there. Here we see her kind of guarding back here. So we're doing a pivot, but we're putting some back pressure on there. Maybe we don't trust this horse that he's going to pivot around there correctly. Always fearful in this kind of situation that he's going to slide this right hind. He doesn't though, so that's great. Good boy. A little pickup right there. Pick up and put down in the same spot's going to be half point off for me. Would like to see her just hold that foot all the way through. Some of that may have to do with, and it's hard to see here, we don't really get a good look at her. But maybe we're already in walk-off mode, right? We talk about those differences in our footwork. Come around here, finish your pivot, give that horse a chance to settle, and then move off. If we were already in walk-off mode before we got there, we can take a look at it. Maybe we'll see either way. Yep, we don't really quite finish that pivot. You see her shoulders kind of go from pivoting to our line before she gets a chance to come straight to our horse and then come off here. So that's part of the reason why this horse picks his foot up, puts it down. He's already got to get himself in pivot or out of pivot mode into drive mode when he should have been closing that pivot. A little pump out of our arms here, a little bit wobbly with those shoulders. Wouldn't mind seeing her keep her body up a little bit quieter. Some of that has to do with her eyes, right? We see her still kind of leaning down through there. In this situation, you already want to be keeping your eyes up around this corner right here. So hopefully looking a little bit more here instead of out here, so we can think about that line that we're going to make next, right? Make sure you're tracking your pattern the whole way through. That way we don't get that like we're going here and also we're going to snap into the pattern. We may get a chance to see that here as she goes across. There it is, right? We bring our eyes into the pattern. Still a little bit low here. Again, pick a point over that horse, that judge's shoulder, your ring steward's shoulder. Pick a point up here. Always look back at that point. That way, kind of, you don't make that eye contact. You're not staring them down as you're coming into your line, right? Really, really making sure that you're really coming straight to them. But pick a point over there, right? Come like over here where we're not coming straight to them, but maybe we're coming and get our eyes up above their shoulder. Because then we avoid this stuff, right? Where we avoid dropping our head down. And again, it's just kind of saying, are you going to stop, right? Just remember, you're always telling on yourself. You're always telling it one way or the other. And here you're just telling on yourself. Even if he stopped well, I'm still wondering why you're looking, right? Why are you looking? Do you not trust him? Is he not going to stop? Because if he does stop and you still look, I'm like, well, you could have looked up. You could have been showing the whole time, right? This is just guarding to me, right? So we don't want to guard him. Yep, and there we kind of like make sure that he stops. He does stop a little bit crooked here. He's got that right front leaning forward. Some of that because his head and neck is towards her. We've seen that a couple times tonight where if we get this bend in our horse's head and neck, this foot's not going to land where we want it to. And then now he's got to bring this leg back and then bring this one around. Yep, there you go. Do get a bit of a hook in our horse's body here. This shoulder not keeping up with his body. Some of that because of the way he started that pivot, right? That shoulder's kind of not in line, ready to go. Be curious to see if this much bend in our horse's body makes him move this foot, right? This foot's almost got to step out over here in order for him to get balanced and not just tip over. So we'll see how he navigates that in the next stride. But we would be curious about, yeah, there it is. So that hip has to swing out way out there. I love when we can call it, right? We can pause things like this and see that happen in real time. Like I said, first time I've seen these patterns too with you guys, but that's what had to happen right there. Because of the bend in his body, he had to take that foot way out over there in order to get squared back up because he would have tipped over, right? If he'd kept pivoting right there, he would have absolutely fallen on his nose. So he had to step out over here to catch himself. That's going to put us in a bad position for this backup. It's going to be really tricky to navigate this. We've got to pull his head over towards us to get this hip back in line. Try not to overshoot with this leg. A couple different moves that have to happen here. Hopefully we don't just like send him right backwards here because he's going to end up like backing over here somewhere. So she's going to pull that head in line. It's going to swing this leg back in line. Hopefully we can bring this leg in line with this leg and then we can back straight to the rest of the judge the rest of the way. My fear always is that we have to overcorrect this, right? Think about if you're driving your car on ice, right, and the back end starts sliding around, you got to counter steer that. So she's having to counter steer. If you counter steer too far, though, you end up spinning out the other way, and then you're kind of counter steering this the whole way down. So just remember that you want to correct this just as much as you need to bring this hip in line with this shoulder. Because if he can bring this hip in line with his shoulder, we finish this back up really clean. We get back to showing probably about right here, stride 1 or 2. But if she overcorrects that, we're going to end up with our hip over here. This leg's going to step way out wide over here, and then we end up kind of chasing this straight line back up the whole way through. So we'll see how she does. Does do a pretty good job. We do end up with this hip just slightly to the inside, but she does do a pretty good job. Maybe we could have And again, it wasn't a problem with our backup, right? It was more of a problem with the way we did our pivot. Coming out of that pivot correctly leads you to an easy backup. We saw that with some of these other patterns. Saw that with each one of her patterns, that she was able to stop cleanly and finish her pivot cleanly, which led to an easy backup, right? We put a lot of pressure on ourselves and a lot of pressure on our horse to recover. Takes a more broke horse to make a bigger move. So the more broke this horse is, the easier he makes that move. But ultimately what you want to do is just avoid that situation entirely in the first place. Don't make this class harder on yourself than it has to be, which is what we did right here, right? If we have that big bend in our horse's neck as we go to our pivot, just makes that class harder than it needs to be. We're making our pattern even more challenging. Remember, it's just back 2 horse lengths, not back and recover for a mistake to begin with. So we can make this class easier on ourselves if we work on those pivots and make sure we keep our horse's head and neck straight, head to tail. All right, so we'll watch how she sets this horse up as I take a drink here. We are moving our right hind here. Not the leg I choose to move for the most part. He's a little cranky about that. So making sure that our horse stays comfortable through that. He has a little bit upset about moving those back legs. So she does do a good job showing through that. Not sure what it was that made him upset about that, but like this leg is moving, we kind of do decide to change legs halfway through. And for me, when I'm teaching my horses, I personally always move this left hind because I want this right hind to be the leg that I pivot around. So I don't want that leg to have a lot of looseness to it. I like having this leg be pretty solid in my horse. I will go over there and push that leg around every now and then because it's got to have a basic level of brokenness. But for the most part, when I set up, I'm moving this leg back and forth. I'll always if I'm in this situation, I'm gonna pull this leg forward, then push it back in. I think it's easier for horses to come way forward and back into position than it is to just step up into square. All right, so I think it's just more of a natural move to pull way up in here and then back it in, make it a 2-step setup, rather than trying to pull this forward and make it a 1-step setup. That being said, we do opt to try to back this leg in, which is why we have to look out around that horse, right? We saw an earlier exhibitor try that same thing where she looks out, kind of peeks around that horse. This leg's just hard to see, right? If you have your rib hanging out over here like this, like we see this horse a little bit bigger barreled, this leg's really hard to see. So I don't want to target this leg because I don't know where it is very well, right? So that's why we see some of this kind of fishing. And then we do opt to change legs halfway through, which I always try to caution my exhibitors against. Make sure you're moving the leg you're looking at, right? So that way that horse learns the pressure in your hand is the leg that we're looking to move, right? So a little cranky through that. Hard to say what made him upset about that. Maybe just not having great control over his legs. In just what we're looking for. We do get a little tripped up in our inspection here. Remembering our quadrants, right? We want to be giving our judge a clear view of our inspection. Let's move out to the other side so that judge can really see this horse. He's got a beautiful body on him, beautiful build to him. So giving our judge the opportunity to see this horse clearly is really important, because this is a spot where a horse like this that's made nice, big powerful muscle on him, big body, deep heart girth, he can pick up points for the halter portion of this class, right? We could give her a lot of extra points for the fitting and presentation of this horse, and say, you know what, she brought a nice fit, big-bodied horse to this class, pretty horse. So let's make sure we give that judge a clear view of our horse through the inspection, move to this side as she comes around. We did just get a little tripped up. The problem happened here when we went to move off this way. We should have stayed over there. Remember that quadrant is our horse's shoulder across this line up here. So when she crosses this point right here, then we'd want to make that move to the cross. Remember, your judge is looking at your horse's hip from here, so you aren't impeding her view at all. It's just when she moves up to this horse's shoulder that you're going to impede the view of the shoulder forward. So you'd want to get to the other side, right? So that's why we move sides right there. And then just make sure we're on the same side of the judge when we cross over the hips, right? So we just get a little tripped up when the ring steward was starting from behind. Again, this pattern where you back into the judge to set up, kind of a unique pattern, not something you do very often. That's why I picked it, right? It's the open showmanship. I want to add a challenge to it. So we did catch someone with that little tricky back to a judge and set up, right? We were looking to trap you guys. Nah, I'm just kidding. I want everybody to do really well, but that was part of the challenge of this pattern. So again, we end up with leading our horse's head and neck through this pattern, or through this pivot. We have seen that a couple times tonight. We do see that fairly commonly. We do end up moving this horse's head and neck. She didn't punch him across there. A lot of people will just punch him with their thumb, right? They'll push him through that pattern pivot right there, and punch them across. So that's not what happened here. We just have a little bit more looseness right here. Again, when we end up in a situation like this leg is going to be the next one to move. It's going to slide back. This is a 270, so we may see that happen here when it's going to be hard to make this horse rock back up onto that foot. He's already leaned back over it. He's got to rock back up onto it and come around it, right? So remember what that horse's body, it's all body mechanics. But what he's got to do here, he's leaning back on that leg right now. It's much easier for him, much more natural for him to slide that foot back in position so that he can get it underneath it himself. Then he can come forward around it and really put a lot of weight on it. Here you see he's got all his weight on the left hind, and that leg is just going to make this slide move across there. So if we want to avoid having this horse pick up and put down his foot or slide it, we want to get this shoulder pulled forward, right? Get this horse forward so we can control his shoulders and not just his chin. So we'll see if this leg moves. It does not. It does not. Wow, he's doing a great job saving her. Good boy. Does an awesome job saving her. It was the next leg to move, though. So he moves off into that walk. Just a walk. Yep, almost trotted off there. Close one. In a rail class, your judge may be looking down. You may be able to pull that kind of thing off. Maybe he's tallying scores from the 270. So, but in this class, I get to rewind the video, and we get to watch it again. All right, did want to see how she tried that corner. Do look down a little bit, but I think he made it around there. Trotting this corner. Yep, he makes it around there pretty cute, actually. So just more confidence, right? So if you think about this class, and we say, well, how did she trot that corner in comparison to the rest of the class? She was in good shape, right? This horse is right up there with her. We're just a little bit nervous about him. So this is a great example of sometimes we tell on ourselves and we don't have to, right? That it's hard to know how you stand in relation to the rest of the class. So do you think that if she came around this corner and we told her right now, you're in the top 3, you're doing really well, do you think she'd have more confidence in the rest of this class, right? And I think that confidence that she would exhibit through the rest of the class would carry through her horse, and maybe he'd be more of a follower, right, to listen to what she's telling him. But the way she comes through that pattern, right, she comes to this corner, she's nervous about him, right? She's looking down at him. She's saying, are you going to do the next maneuver? We made a great corner right here, so we could confidently make that corner and confidently keep our eyes up and really guide this horse through if she knew that she was in really good shape around that corner, right? So if we think about the rest of the class, there's only been just a small handful, maybe 4 people that we've been in the plus range for those corners. And we certainly could have been there the way he moved up around with us, right? So maybe if our exhibitor knows just how good she is, right? Just that she's doing a great job, we would get that confidence. And that's what horse showing is, right? You got to be confident. You got to sell it. And sometimes we don't know what we have in the middle of the class, right? So there's been lots of times that Macy or I have been showing, and I'm helping her on the rail, and I'm going, hey, I know you don't like it, right? I know it's not the best ride you've ever had, but you're winning this class, so just own it. Rather than like, sometimes that'll happen where you're winning the class and you beat yourself, right? So she's just beating herself here. And I hate seeing people beat themselves because there's all these people. Look, you can compete against all these people. Don't beat yourself up, right? Show everything that you have. Show everything that you can. Have confidence in your horse. Have confidence in your pattern. Because this is your competition. Don't make yourself your competition, right? Sometimes we get in our own head, and we make horse showing a little bit bigger than it has to be. So maybe if she knew that she was doing really well right there, that corner would have been a little bit different. Just confidence in this class, right? Sometimes we get a little bit tripped up. Sometimes we're not quite sure where to go. Just refine your steps, right? Refine your fundamentals of this class, and you're in really good shape with this horse because he's going to be pretty good at it. Yeah. All right, so our next one. We're with Kama. Loving the live judging. Awesome. Thank you so much. I'm glad you're here. We have 80 people watching us here throughout different channels. Good to have you all here on a, Thursday night? I forget what day it is. It's living through quarantine, right? All right. So we do have a good expression here. Happy expression. A little bit sleepy horse, right? I've been told that way too much. Yeah, see? Be confident. Be confident, everybody. Don't beat yourself up out there. And we all go through it, right? Showing is more of a mental game than anything, right? If you can just be confident, good or bad, pass or fail, win or lose, be confident out there. And if you don't like what you have, then fix it at home, right? Don't beat yourself up in the class. So then we've got our horse right here. He's a little bit sleepy. It's a good thing it's a walk, right? I certainly don't want to see this into a trot off. So it's a good thing it's a walk because he's kind of taking a nap here. So hopefully he wakes up as we go around. Well, it's a little bit windy there. He does wake up a little bit. That's good. Moves off into this. We are dragging him just a little bit. Would like to see him moving up just a little bit more willingly. Anytime I see that nose getting a little bit stretched out, we're kind of end up dragging this horse around. So it is clean, right? Does move up nice. Maybe not perfectly credit earning, but he does move up very cleanly. I like her expression so far. Good clean stop here. Looks like a good pivot. Horse stays really straight head to tail. Looks like he's rocking over that foot nice. And we got some speed here, right? So I like seeing that a lot. Does move through there very cleanly, and we end up in a good position coming out of this, so that's awesome. So we're gonna give her a plus 2 for that one because I like that pivot a lot. He does add some flavor to it, right? We start talking about getting out of that +1, +1.5 range where we're doing it accurately, and we start adding some flavor to it. So we do pick up some speed there. Maybe if we push that pattern a little bit harder, we get up to that +2.5, +3 range. But as it stands right now, that's gonna work for me. We do wait for that horse to settle down a little bit. Maybe it takes a little longer than we think we want to, right? I would love to see that. So I always just look at like, this class is flowing, right? So to be flowing water through this class, set your metronome out there, a little bit, this right here. Have everything be moving in this time right here. All right? So what we end up with right here, when he comes around that pivot, he's pivot, 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 squared up. Right? So it just breaks the rhythm for me, right? So it breaks my immersion. It's like watching a great movie and then having a phone call in the middle of it. Just takes you right out of the moment. So that's what happens for me, right? I'm loving this pivot. I'm right here. I'm like, man, I like this pivot a lot. We're flying through here. We're picking up some speed right now. We're cruising along. We're cruising along. We're cruising along. Phone call. Oh, right? And I just like, I lose it. If we let that horse, if that horse speeds up just a little bit through there, maybe we end up a little bit better trot off here. We end up with a trot off that like our winning trot off right here, where we talk about that horse and exhibitor dancing together. So right here, moving those legs off, maybe I can catch a better frame. And just like dancing, right? So that's that. Those legs moving perfectly in time with each other. Maybe we end up with more of that kind of position. And this horse moves off just a little bit easier. As it stands right now, though, pretty good. Like the way she comes around this corner a lot. Horse does wing out just a touch, and this is why this pattern's hard, right? This is the challenging part of it. So going from a left turn, left hard corner to a stop on a small straight line, right, does not give your horse much room to get straight. All right. So remember I said as soon as you turn that corner in this pattern, the difficulty really ramps up quickly. So those of you guys that tried this pattern at home, doesn't look like much on paper, right? If I pull this pattern back up, you kind of look at it and you go, not much happening there, right? But if you have this type of pattern right here, the difficulty of this pattern right through here really ramps up because you do not have much time to get straight to stop square. And if you don't stop square, you won't pivot square. If you don't pivot square, you won't back square. And as soon as you turn this corner, the difficulty of this pattern just goes through the roof, right? This is super simple so far, very, very easy, and all of a sudden it's like, what happened right through here? Doesn't look like much on paper, but it's a tricky pattern. So just remembering that, right? The better you come through here, this section determines almost 100% how you do in through here, all right? So what I challenge you guys to do when you go to your shows, when shows start back up, is can we find this type of part of our patterns? Can we break this pattern and go, okay, wait a minute. This is tricky. I'm messing this part up. Why, right? If I mess this part up, it's most likely a symptom of what happened right back here, right? Here's the cause. The cause happened here. The symptom is right here. We see it all, we see the wheels come off right here, but the bolts broke back here, right? So just keep that in mind. It's why I picked this pattern. It's why I'm a big fan of this type of pattern, because coming through there, like I like the way she came up. He did swing a little bit wide, right? This was starting off really good. We do get our hand out a little bit wide right here, a little long of our body. Remember, I always advise people turn that hand over. That'll keep you from swinging out because you're a lot stronger like this with this hand turned over than you are like this. It's just too easy to get pulled off of your line if you're trying to keep this hand straight. So when you come across there, turn that hand over a little bit, right? You can go from here to here and not really even notice it. But turn that hand over so you're a little bit stronger. Use your forearm a little bit more. Now you can kind of lean your body into it and really make that horse come up and around there, because otherwise you end up making the corners like this and then you're going to be crooked coming around here because his head's going to be too far to you when you make this straight line. So right here, we see that happen right here. He gets really good into this line. Now it's so important that she drives straight to us. We do end up swinging just a little bit wide right here, and then we see that horse get out there. The domino effect, yeah, that's exactly what it is. So then we see this horse's head and neck towards us, and then again, so that domino just continues to fall. Right now our horse's head and neck is towards us, so he's going to step off with his shoulder. It's going to put even more bend in his body, and now we're going to be outside leading with our head and neck, which is going to make this pivot kind of tricky. He does recover though, so that's really good. Good horse, well broke, well trained, good recovery. So now she's really straight right here. Wouldn't mind seeing just 1/2 step over, right? Just 1 footprint over would make this just a little bit easier, but she should be able to navigate this back up pretty easy. Yeah, he backs up really good. Big wide steps right there. Moves evenly, cleanly across there. Should have an easy setup here. She's going to have to move this leg and now move this one. Maybe it doesn't happen. Can't see a ring steward. Don't know what's happening here. Oh, okay, so ring steward just a little bit slow to the draw. That's okay. He stays pretty close to her. Good. She moves over a little bit soon right there. I know he's moving very slowly compared to how she wants to do her pattern. So sometimes that'll happen, right? You're out there and you're flying through your pattern and you're doing high difficulty stuff and you're snapping along and you're looking really good. And then you get a ring steward that walks really slow around you. I would say in this kind of situation, let's slow our crossovers over to match the speed of our ring steward. All right, because otherwise it looks like you're running and he's like crawling. Okay, so just that disconnect between our judge and our exhibitor here, I wouldn't mind seeing our exhibitor slow down just a touch to make this just a little bit more natural across there. Because like she's already set, he's going to be carefully across there, very carefully across there, and she's like flying around, right? Good clean lines though. I like the way she sets up a lot. Very, very clean with her arms. Good clean, doesn't lean too far back, doesn't lean too far forward. We're right here. Everything looks good. She's maybe a touch early for everything. Maybe a touch, but the rest of it was really good. So we're gonna give her +1 for that. If she maybe speeds the same speed as him, maybe +1.5, because her lines are really good, but she's just a shade early. If she wasn't a shade early, we can be in that +2, +2.5 range for me. +3 would have been if this horse's head and neck would have stayed straight. Let me make some notes here. 180, okay, 270 to walk off. Horse sets up for the 270. She's flying across here, pushing that degree of difficulty. That's what I like to see. A bit faster turn than we've seen in some of these other exhibitors. And then a good, crisp, clean walk off afterwards. So I do like that a lot. So she's going to pick a +2 for me for that one. +3 would have been if if the head and neck would have stayed just a little bit more in line with his body. It does get a little bit off right there. So coming through, do like the speed, do like the pace. Lean forward just a touch, but not too bad. Really clean. I have it as a 270 and walk off, so yeah, I like it a lot. I'm gonna say +2.5, right? That's pretty close to almost exactly how we want to do that. So our stop at 180. Let me make sure that we go over that again. So we stopped a little bit crooked, if I remember correctly, right here. Yep, stop. A little crooked. Do drill that 180 though. We're really accurate across that 180. Good pattern. Good pattern. Can you please discuss the current trend for body position and pivot? Not positive what we're referring to. Current trend for body position, is it different? I'm not sure. Did things change? Do you think things have changed? Does anybody else think things have changed? I'd be curious to know. Good, I like the way she does that. All right, so if we go into our score sheet here, used to be out front more. Oh, really? I don't know. She's maybe a little bit further behind there. Let's see. Maybe. This is the best critique for Showmanship I've ever gotten. Awesome. So many things to work on, but excited to do it. Perfect. That's what I want to hear. That's what this is all about, right? Current trend, maybe we're a little bit behind him here. And we do see him being a little bit crunchy through this. Yeah, it doesn't bother me much. Again, so I think that's one of those things that kind of gets mixed up with style, right? So Andrea, I would say that the current trend for body position. Is more has to do with the style, right? We have to take into consideration every other maneuver that happened along with it. So just remember that as long as you sell it, right, and you own it, that's your style, okay? So where you end up along that horse as you do your pivot is gonna be stylistic. If you sell it well and you're confident through it, then I'm gonna buy it, right? I'm gonna buy what you're selling to me. So just remember that when you do the rest of your pattern, that as long as you do that every time, I'm like, all right, that's fine. Just, I think trends get made when someone who, like, it's subjective, right? To say, well, we had identical patterns, but she was out in front of her horse's nose more, or she was behind her horse's nose more, and that's why she won, right? So I don't like to think of things that way, just because you've seen me critique a bunch of patterns now, and look at all the little nuanced things that we can call that are gonna make and break the difference between +3s, +2.5, +2s, +1.5. That we haven't. I don't think I've given anybody a 3 here tonight. No 3s tonight. Maybe 2.5. Maybe 2.5, 2s. No 3s though. So just keeping that in mind. Like, I haven't seen anybody that I thought was like, that's exactly what I want to see. So I'm kind of liberal with. I guess I don't know what the opposite of liberal would be, but I'm guarded with my 3s, right? I don't want to give those out just to anybody willy-nilly. You got to earn a 3 from me. So I'm maybe a little more critical because I do like this class a lot, and I want to see someone that really crushes it, right? We haven't seen that yet tonight, but we've gotten close, right? We've gotten 2s, some really good patterns, some really good maneuvers, right? Just bringing everything, right, to get close to that perfect score. All right, so we do have one left. Megan Connolly here. I don't think, did I do her? Was she the first one? Let me look. Nope. We're gonna last in this class. Did lose the video there for a second. I think we're back on though. Very generous with the plus points. Yeah. Yep. Like, I give a lot of +1s, I give a lot of +halves, a lot of +1.5s. But for me, if you're gonna make or break things, then you're gonna be in the +3 range, right? And that just doesn't happen much. What did you say?
So does not want to play nice with you.
It doesn't. It doesn't want to participate tonight. Thanks for explaining. I like you taking a lot. So does like trends. Yeah, so do I. I don't want to get into trendiness, right? I don't want to think that like that's what made or break this class. Okay, like I just think there's so much more you can work on. There's so many more little nuanced things that we can fix before we go into. Well, her mane was a little bit shorter than mine, right? Or it's because she had more silver. I don't think of things like that. You notice I haven't made too many comments on anybody's attire tonight. Wouldn't matter if you were in show clothes or not. I think the only attire comment that I made was about your hat, right? About these lines. And then there was one exhibitor that had a white sleeve, and that was distracting because that really sold and told on her arm, regardless of where her arm was. Just the fact that this was white, she's wearing like a vest or something. That was one thing that threw me off. But otherwise, it was one of those things that wouldn't really matter. I don't care. I don't care what you're wearing. As long as it fits clean. As long as it doesn't distract me, right? If it's distracting, if I notice it, then it's more going to be something that I get distracted and I deduct points for than something like, oh, you're going to gain points for what you're wearing. You know what I mean? Like, more one of those things where I'm going to say, oh, I don't like that, versus, oh, I love that, and I'm going to give her extra points for what she's wearing. That will probably never happen with me, right? Just because I want to keep horse showing accessible to everybody. I don't want show clothes to be the thing that determines whether or not you can show or not, right? That doesn't matter to me. Wear a blouse. Wear something that fits. That's what I care about. All right. So let's watch this last pattern here. Megan Connolly doing her horse, little gray horse here. Like the expression here. Can't really see her position from this angle. So gonna be hard to tell a little bit, but we'll see how she does. Let me mute this. A little windy where everybody's got some wind. I like the way she comes across here. Horse walks off really willingly, really nice. Again, maybe speeding things up a little bit, getting this horse where he keeps up with her. Looks like he's a little bit behind her. Again, hard to tell from this angle, but horse gets a little lost through that, but a pretty clean pivot overall. I like the way she pivots. Maybe a little head pop at the end. Let me make sure I have her down. Megan Connolly. Right at the walk, we're going to give her 1 for that. 270 pivot, we're going to give her 1 for that. I like the way it does it. Maybe 1.5. It was pretty clean. Let me make sure I watch that back again. Just because we do end up popping our head here a little bit, do lose some expression across here. Watch it back. Right here. So I kind of a little bit of a pushback right there. Super hard to tell. Maybe a little bit of a nibble there. Not too bad though. Comes across that corner pretty clean. Does stumble a bit here. Remember those hard corners, right? That corner is super hard to make cleanly. We will not, unfortunately, get to see her horse wing his hip out like we would see if we were the ring steward in this one. But we can tell by the way he stops. Pretty clean. Goes to this pivot nice. Does lead with his shoulder, right? Does end up kind of moving towards her as he goes through this pivot. So that's going to cost you a little bit for me. It's a super clean pivot otherwise, but that's going to just move you into the +1 range instead of the +2 or 3 range for me. Easy backup here. I like the way he backs up. Sets up pretty quickly. I was taking notes. See, look at that. Like, if this was a class, right, and you didn't have a scribe telling you, like, if I could say +1.5, +1, plus half, +1. If you have to look down, right, I have to look to the monitor. Look what you missed, right? I'm like, okay, so I'm over here, I'm taking some notes, and I'm like, oh, she must have moved over nice, right? Maybe I didn't see it. So keep that in mind when you're showing. If you just have one judge out there and he's trying to take his own notes, or he's trying to do the inspection also, he's not going to catch every little thing. Does end up kind of winging out wide here when she goes into this pivot. So she comes across back this way, and she's like, that step back, I think kind of hurts us for this pivot. Maybe this leg's just too far back. We could have brought this leg up in line with this one and moved into this a little bit swifter. But we are going to end up a little bit disconnected from, see how straight our arm had to get, just because this leg stepped funny, right? Just because it stepped kind of weird through that. So it ended up straightening our arm a little bit, but not too bad. That right there, where he doesn't finish that turn quite all the way, and then we end up kind of dragging him across like this right shoulder just getting away from us a little bit. Seen that a couple times tonight in a couple different horses, that the right shoulder just kind of hangs out there, right? Maybe doesn't get all the way across the way we want to. So just keep that in mind. We want to keep that shoulder gathered up underneath of us. It does get away from us just a little bit right here. You can kind of see, let me play. So right there, right about 3/4 of the way through this 3/4 turn, right? He's like, nah, I'm not doing this anymore, and doesn't keep up with us. So he kind of takes his head and bends out this way, and doesn't stay straight perfectly up with us. And then we end up kind of pulling him back in right here. That's why that walk off just kind of felt funny, that he had his head over towards us and this right shoulder just kind of leaks out. Right there. You see that right shoulder's kind of leading the way. Yeah. So just something to keep in mind, that we want to keep this horse's head and neck straight, head to tail. We've seen it a lot tonight. But a good pattern overall. Just want to watch a couple things back. Let's go into her 270. Good across there. Like this 270. We do end up kind of the same kind of thing, where that arm gets just a little bit out in front of us. We do kind of just swim with that arm. Let's bring these elbows back, tuck them against our sides so we can kind of get right there. Do lean forward a little bit through here. And again, we kind of drop these arms out in front of us. So this is the same thing we saw with one of the other exhibitors, where we break in the middle and we end up with this kind of broken back line. We end up with an L here with our body instead of just straight up and down this way. So just avoiding this break in our body so we can stay more straight up and down, I think will help a lot. Like here, we're much straighter. All right, so, and I see it a lot in the trot off, okay? I see a lot of people do that when they go to trot their horse off. They kind of lean their body down. And that's why I tell people to send their horse first, all right? Because if you send your horse first, look how this keeps my shoulders up and back, all right? So if I go and I send this horse out, rather than bringing myself out and then having to catch my horse back here, just send that horse first. Make him trot first. And I think if you start training like that, start teaching your horse like that, then he's more willing to trot off, and he's going to trot off more accurately, and then we won't end up breaking down. And then, like I said, it's all about the amount of time you spend showing, right? So if we're in recovery mode through this line right here, and you see we're recovering back to straight right through here, and then we come through here, and now, oh, thank gosh, halfway through this line, we're like, I can stand up, and now I'm trotting, my horse is going, I don't have to worry about him dying out on me anymore. So just keeping everything up with you. It does take a little stumble there, but in motion, you don't notice it so much. Good. All right. So that was our last exhibitor in this class. So we can go ahead and tally these scores up. We can figure out where everybody stood. That was really fun. I like that. Had some really good patterns. Got to see some good stuff. So if you guys have questions, comments, concerns about this before I wrap this up, get them in now. We'll go over them. We got some patterns to go over. We can show you guys some things that we're talking about. I hope I explained myself pretty well. I hope you guys got to see the same things that I did, and see the same mistakes that I do, and then see the same recoveries that you have to make because of it. I hope that you guys find this useful. And if you do, I'd love to hear about it. If you don't, I'd love to hear about it. All right. So what we have for our final scores here. All right, so our first place exhibitor is going to be Jill Rock. Love this pattern, right? So you guys can watch this while I look at the rest of them. I kind of sort things out up here. Just really well done for me. I like the way she moves. I would like to see her arms stay a little bit tighter. That's going to move most scores up at least a half a point for me if these arms stay tighter, right? So again, I want the ability to navigate the pattern be first and foremost, right? And then I'm going to critique your showmanship a little bit secondly afterwards. We could call this style because she's very accurate with the rest of her horse, right? I'm going to say that the arms out here, as much as I would like to see them get tight and solid, it's one of those things where the rest of the pattern is just so good that we're going to have to overlook that. And she's just not going to pick up the +3s or the +2.5s for me very often. I don't think I gave her. Yeah, no, we're. You guys can see here. We're at +2 all the way across the board. Maybe +1.5, +1s there. But if we're going to talk about picking up the +2.5s, +3s, we're going to have to tighten up those arms and get that body situated a little bit better. So very, very close though, right? Between her and our second place exhibitor, which is going to be Kama. Yep. So here's our second place exhibitor. Remember we saw the difference between a horse and exhibitor that are pushing the pace, right? She's driving this horse through the class. This is a faster pace. We come around this corner. We've got some speed to it. We've got some accuracy to it. It does take a little bit of a funny step right there. But this stops really hard, and our horse backs really well. This pivot's strong pivot. We're coming across there. We're doing lots of things. I like that a lot. And so we see that difference that we talked about at the very front of this class, where we have style, right? We have pushing pace. We're adding difficulty. So we want you guys to get to where you're accurate first, and then you add speed to things. So we see both of these exhibitors have accuracy down, and we can start adding some speed. Jill maybe pushed this trot a little bit harder, right? Pushed everything just a little bit harder. Kama was really good in her pivots, that she really drove those pivots right here. We see her moving just maybe a little bit faster than Jill, but it was really close, right? I think, Kama had an 80.5 and Jill had an 81. So we're really, really close. Really close. So then our third place exhibitor is going to be, Kirsty. So right here, we got this pattern coming in third. Kirsty's third. And then we have a 77 is our next one. Bailey Schubauer with their second horse. This is our second horse, right? Yes. So for fourth place horse here, let me write these placings down as I go. So 1, 2, 3. Make sure this is right. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. All right. So we have Bailey Schubauer with her gray horse is going to be our fifth place horse. And then we have Corey Hall with her first horse. Let's see which one that is. I think it was this one. Make sure she's the ultimate. Yeah, so this is our fifth place horse here. Like this horse a lot. And then she's going to be sixth with her next horse. Yep. Nope. Fifth. Just kidding. Hold that thought. Bailey with her second horse is going to be up here. There. Bailey bringing up fourth and fifth. And then Corey with her first horse. This one, I believe. Yes. Then we got Jackie Whittler. It's going to be next. Where's Jackie? Jackie right here, going to be our next place horse. And then we have Joshua Lamarche is going to bring up our next one, this one, right here. Good, there we go. So there we go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I had commas here. Yes, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Jackie 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Missing one. Joshua Lamarche is 8. This is what you guys wait for, right? We go to horse shows. Wait for the judges to sort it out. Find this very helpful as well. It looks good and smooth. What can we do to fix the issues? Very helpful. Thanks for taking time to explain each one. You're very welcome. Showmanship is my forehead palm. Oh no, my face palm. That's not good. Well, it is one of my favorite classes. And what do you mean? Your showmanship is really good, right? Just tighten those elbows up. Tighten those elbows up, and you're in really good shape. So Kirsty, Bailey, Corey, Jackie, and Joshua. There. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. There. So there's our top 8 right here. So we got this one right here. We'll put everybody in trot like it was a horse show, right? We can all take an arena shot as we come around here. Oh, I can't pause. I'm messing this up. It was going to be cool. There we go. So here's our arena shots. We'll come across here. So. This is our open showmanship coming to a conclusion here. Thank you so much for everybody that submitted videos and supported this horse show. It's been a lot of fun for me. We're going to do the riding stuff. This is the only thing I can do. Everything else is a face palm. No. We can help you. No, my horse chooses either high or I'm dragging. Yeah. So look at these guys putting some trot work in. We can pause everybody, see where everybody's at. You're very welcome. Nice horse. I like seeing you guys in showmanship. Be confident. Be confident in the class. Oh, I almost had a good pause there. Oh, there we go. All right, so there we have it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Very, very good, guys. That was really fun. I enjoyed doing all the showmanship. That concludes the showmanship portion of this horse show. We went an hour and 45 minutes, I think, maybe even more. Like almost 2 hours. I think 2 hours. Doing showmanship. Getting 12 exhibitors in 2 hours. That's what we're talking about. Hopefully we all learned something. Hopefully it was worth our time here. Thank you so much for being here. I'm Jeremy LaRose. And this has been a lot of fun. One of my favorite classes. We have a superior, but we need more feedback. There you go. See, I knew this class is good, right? You guys are very, very good at this class. Let me move you up to a better trot picture. Straighten his legs out. Straighten his legs out. Take a full stride. I want to see straight there. So Kirsty's leaning forward just a little bit here. But we have, there we go, straight up and down, long stride. That's what we're talking about. That's what I want to see. So you guys are awesome. Thank you so much for submitting videos, supporting the Show Your Heart Out virtual horse show. I appreciate you guys giving me the opportunity to come out here and talk so much and sitting through me just running my mouth. Like I said, I'm just a guy who likes showmanship and is a student of the game, right? So I've studied lots of videos of this class. Hopefully we can see that based on how we can call these mistakes as we go. And we'll have these final places up for you in the next day or so. I'll be live tomorrow at 10 a.m. Eastern. And we will go over the riding portion of this class. We got the English, we got the Western, we got some ranch riding, we got some horsemanship, we got some equitation. We'll be doing that tomorrow. And I'll see you in less than 12 hours. I'm gonna get some sleep. I've been running hard since about 6 a.m. this morning. So awesome. Thanks so much for being here today, guys. Give me the opportunity to do this. It means everything to me. So this is obviously something I love doing. We try to go live as much as we can. And I will see you guys tomorrow. Awesome.